Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 147. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, Dr. Nords in the comics forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Sean takes his comics way too seriously. After reading the recent Kingdom arc, he gave me a 20-minute intervention on not losing the man to the whatnot. So says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin, the Duke of You-Know, and the master of the magic jazz hands.
How's it going?
We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. Jim and I are going to be at the New York Comic Con, February 6th to 8th, 2009. The New York Comic Con is the East Coast's biggest and most exciting pop culture convention. The show floor plays host to the latest and greatest in comics, graphic novels, animes, manga, video games, toys, movies, and television. The New York Comic Con is the second largest pop culture convention in America and the only one that takes place in the comic book publishing, media, and licensing capital of the world. Special guests for the New York Comic Con 2009 include Adam and Andy Kubert, Brian Michael Bendis, Bruce Timm, Carmine Infantino, Jeff Johns, George Perez, Grant Morrison, J. Michael Straczynski, Jim Lee, Matt Fraction, Neil Adams, and more. When is the New York Comic Con? Like we said, February 6th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., which is professional only hours. And then it's open to the public from February 6th, 1 to 7 p.m., February 7th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday, February 8th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Attendee tickets for the weekend pass are $50, Friday passes are $30, Saturday passes $40, and Sunday passes are also $30. And Jim, you and I are going to be recording we're going to try to hit as many panels as possible, dividing off between the two of us to discuss just news and events coming out of and commentary coming from creators at the New York Comic Con. We would love you guys to stop by the table, whether you are a comic creator, whether you are a listener of the show, friend of the show, whatever. Please feel free to stop by the table. If you are a comic creator and you're going to be at the New York Comic Con and you want to sit down for a chat, let us know ahead of time. You don't have to. I mean, you can certainly just pop over. But if you let us know ahead of time, we'll be sure to prepare something for when you stop by the table. So it'd be great. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, God, yeah. And there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the podcast arena itself. So swing on by, say howdy to some really cool people. I know we got a couple raffles being planned and all that type of, broad, kind of cool stuff. And
absolutely. And we're going to be announcing on the show every week more details of things we're learning about the podcast arena and what our fellow podcasters are doing. So definitely keep checking this out because I'm really excited at, once again, attending the New York Comic Con. It's a blast. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Azrael Death's Dark Knight, number 1 of 3, is at the special 75% off discount. It's written by Fabian Nicieza, art by Fraser Irving, cover by it's Guillem March. He was a husband and a father, a brother and a friend, a cop and a dark knight. But he had all that taken away, and in return he was given a suit of sorrows, a quest for redemption, and a new name. He is Azrael, avenging angel of the Order of Purity and a new protector for Gotham City's troubled times. But who will protect the citizens from him? Guest starring Robin, Nightwing, Talia, and the League of Assassins. This miniseries runs alongside The Battle for the Cowl and features the dramatic presence of a strangely familiar troubled hero with two things on his mind: crazed vengeance for the wrongs he has suffered and salvation for the sins he continues to commit. Regularly $2.99, 75% off, only 74 cents.
dude, you cannot pay, you could buy 2 of those and it would still be less than the cover price of 1.
It'd be less than half of the cover price for 1. You could buy 4 of them for the cover price.
Yeah.
You give them to friends and be a hero. It's great. I mean, I'm liking so much what Fabian Nicieza is doing in the various Bat books, especially his Robin run, which was fantastic, that I'm picking this up just on that alone. Azrael, too, is a concept that I always thought was cool, so more Azrael is a good thing.
Well, I'm doing my standard buy 2 of them, so 1 will be for signatures, and then 1 would be for, my collection.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Batman for the Battle for the Cowl, number 1 of 3, is also at a special discount, which is written by Tony Daniel, art by Tony Daniel and Sandu Floria. And this one is regularly $3.99, 50% off, only $1.99. So you can't argue with that. I mean, it's a great way to get that. Whatever your shipping preferences, whatever your bag and boarding preferences, DCB Service accommodates your collecting needs. Don't forget our In-Stock Trades Book of the Month by Mike Sims, which I think we're going to try to sneak in. It's either going to be $149 or it's going to be after we do the 150 episode. It'll be one of those two. We'll take a look and schedule with Mike. It's written by Jeff Johns, The Flash Rogues trade, art by Scott Collins and Brian Boland. Keystone City is on the brink of destruction again, and only the Flash can save it. The Flash Rogues collects issues 177 to 181, regularly $14.99, 47% off, only $7.94. And episode 150, as remembered, is going to be The Long Halloween. The Absolute Edition is regularly $75, 37% off, only $47.25. The trade paperback is $19.95 regularly. InStockTrades.com price after the 37% off discount is $12.57. So InStockTrades.com offers free shipping on orders of $50 or more and has tons of collected editions in stock and ready to ship. Thanks for supporting us, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Constantly updating RagingBullets.com with all kinds of stuff that we're getting from listeners. We have some, this week I'll be putting up some more Where's What Not Nows. We have another blog from Super Mandy from the forums, which is going to be up there. So, I mean, just a lot of stuff going on the website. I want to thank listeners for continuing to participate in that. And remember, our next, after we're done with the Flash Rogues, we'll be picking another listener winner to join us on the show to discuss another trade. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Don't forget our voicemail line, 440-388-4434, or Dr. Norge on Skype, and we'll definitely have voicemails on this episode. Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, Sean, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Jim, let's jump right into a Speeding Bullets segment. I got a lot of stuff both in DC Comics and outside of DC Comics that I'd like to talk about.
Hello, Sean and Jim.
We actually are just looking at some images from the DCU online MMO game that's going to be coming out. And the site that I go to, it's psu.com. It's a PlayStation, it's called PlayStation Universe. And I'll put the link to it, the pictures directly in the show. They were showing some pictures of the creative characters from the DCU game. And wow, it looks like there's going to be a lot of customization options and things like that, which is fun because one of the things I'm enjoying about City of Heroes so much is that you really can spend quite a bit of time in the character editor playing around with getting, original characters or trying to get them close to heroes that you like, that type of thing. So I'm looking forward to hopefully this having the same amount of depth that has. The gameplay's a big one for me, though. I'm hoping that this plays different than City of Heroes. Not as a knock on City of Heroes. I want to feel like that, though, that I'm playing a new game. What are your thoughts on, do you want, a very similar style engine, or do you want something that's different, Jim?
I want something that I enjoy playing. So if it's just like City of Heroes, I won't care. As long as, because I'm enjoying City of Heroes, so if it's the same thing with DCU, I'll do that just because as we were looking at these images, we're like, hey, look, there's Bibbos, and we were looking for the Daily Planet in the one skyline. That's the kind of stuff I want to do with the DC MMO.
And all these shots we were looking at were of Metropolis, but with creative characters within Metropolis. So it's interesting to see that.
Yeah, so if it's a completely different engine, as long as I like playing it, I'm like, cool. If it's the same engine and I enjoy playing it, cool. It's, for me, that I don't need something dramatically different. Mm-hmm. I could do the same thing, just it's now taking place in the DCU.
I would like the stories, hopefully, to, on some level, feel like they're part of the DC universe. I eventually would like it. To me, the ideal would be to have a stronger marriage between that and the actual comics themselves. Not where the game is driving the comic content, but the game has echoes of what's currently happening in the comics, if that makes sense. How fun would it be to be reading events in the comics and maybe the next month playing variations of those events, or playing things that are reactions to those events within the game?
Yeah. What I'd like to do is have a weekend event where they say, okay, this is Final Crisis in the game. Anybody who logs on is going to be part of Final Crisis.
And I'd love that. I mean, that's more of what I'm talking about, where, as the events come out, and I would hopefully it'll get to the point where they're really paying a lot of attention to what's currently happening in the comics, and we start to see that. Because I think that would be great for the comics, in the sense that people maybe who try out this MMO get into the DC universe, get into these characters, and might try out comics. Gamers who play City of Heroes don't necessarily read comic books. They just happen to like the game. So I think, this might be an interesting opportunity to reach some video game fans who perhaps would really like comic storytelling. Because I think any of your role-playing video game fans would find something quickly to enjoy in comics. Because role players typically like ongoing stories with characters, with drama, and, reaction. So, I mean, to me, it's a perfect audience to target to reach comics as well. So I think this game could have a positive effect on the comics in the sense that it would bring in some new people. I'm hoping.
I'm hoping too. Yeah, I think it definitely could. There's always risks of it not working. That's what business is. It is a risk. So it's going to be curious to see how close they're mirrored together and how tight they are. Every comic book convention we've gone to, they always ask questions about DC movies, and DC's like, hey, we just make comic books. Now, this is the same deal where this isn't the DC comic people doing it, but hopefully...
But Jeff Johns, I know, is already involved in the writing of it. I'm sure they're going to be bringing in other DC... They
gotta be.
I'm sure they already are bringing in other DC writers.
Right.
So that, I think, is going to be a key for this game, is to bring in the people that are actually creating the comics, to bring an authenticity to this. It's what we all want to do. Who doesn't want to run around in the DCU?
I know. That's the key. You want to do this. You want to... As I said when we're talking here, just looking at it, I was saying, man, I so want to fly to the top of the Daily Planet. And that's going to be a meeting spot in this game. I guarantee it. It's going to be, hey, let's hang out at the Daily Planet. Just like right now in City of Heroes, you hang out at the bottom of Atlas and Atlas Park. Well, you know what? That's going to be that type of meeting place. I'm like, yes. So.
You know what I'd like to see when you begin a storyline? And this is something we don't see in City of Heroes now, but I would like to see in the DCU game. When you begin the storyline, it'd have a comic cover featuring your character and maybe some of the superheroes you team up with, or the heroes like you're teamed up with and all that, and creator credits. Like whoever the writer was who wrote that particular arc. Because obviously they're going to be pulling in comic writers, but they're going to be pulling in gaming writers and that type of thing. It would be cool. I would love to see who writes these arcs. Because
I would love to see that.
Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I just think it'd be kind of a neat little twist to throw into the MMO. But, I mean, how cool would it be to see your characters in there? Like, if it's an adventure where you're teaming up with Batman, and it's a group of you and you're all teaming up in Gotham, to see either yourself on a solo mission or yourself on a team mission with your group on a comic cover before you go into it, to kind of rally you into the, like, hey, you're delving into a comic storyline. That, to me, would be awesome.
Or even, after you complete it, you get a little badge type thing where the badge is that image of that cover.
With the characters you were teamed up with as a memory of like, hey, this is the group which would be cool like a year later of playing the game to be able to look back at your missions to see who you teamed up with and what that looked like. You would have your own comic collection of your adventure.
Yeah.
I love that.
That would just be so awesome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that to me, and it'd be like your long box within the game.
Oh,
that would be awesome. Really tying into that whole thing. So that would be a neat kind of something, because we all like accolades in games that we play. That's why your trophy system and your achievements on the PlayStation 3 and the 360s are so popular, because people want to be able to look back and say, look what I did. That would be a neat little way to have like a reminder of like what you've done within the game and what those missions, and with like a little synopsis that goes along with it. So that's cool. I like that idea. I want to talk about just a little outside of the comics again too. This Brave and the Bold cartoon, dude, it rocks.
Hurrah! Oh yeah.
The Outsiders one that aired this week, dude, was outstanding. At first, I got to be honest with you. At first, I was disappointed because I'm like, oh, they're making them bad guys? What's going on here? But then as the story progressed and we saw it was a Wildcat Batman team up against this team of outsiders who, they were outsiders because they're these teenage kids who didn't, know how to, better themselves. And they're at that awkward stage. And it was like an origin story for the outsiders. Inside the sewers, they got teamed up with this bad villain.
Sludge or Slug or something like that.
Right, who was, leading them down the wrong path. But as the story progressed, you got to see that the older heroes, it's Wildcat was so much in the role that he's currently in JSA, where he was first training Batman. And he was kind of at a transition phase where, he's ready to retire, but he doesn't want to. He feels he has more to offer. And we get to see throughout this that he gets to offer experience. He gets to offer motivation. He gets to offer his sense of hey, I came from the streets. I can show you guys how to better yourselves and to be something more. They find him cool. By the end of the whole thing, the outsiders go to train with Wildcat, but you even see echoes that this team eventually could team up with Batman. It was Metamorpho, Black Lightning, and Katana. And it really, as the story went on, I'm like, wow, this is really a cool cartoon in that we sometimes have established characters, other times we get to see the origin of characters, kind of like what we got to see with Blue Beetle very early in his career. This cartoon every week, I tune right into it.
Oh God, yeah, and we of course had the voice of R. Lee Ermey, like hurrah! I know, and he had the one line where I cracked up when when he said it. He was like, "Okay, lunchbox, come on!" I'm like, "Yeah!" I did want to hear a hoorah out of him, or just one of those, one of the lines, from one of his lines. But I don't know if they could have pulled up some of his cool lines from Full Metal Jacket into this. I don't think it would fit in the kid's story, but it was still neat to see him. He was a cool mesh for that character, so I was like, yeah.
I got a major recommendation on a showcase volume for Batman fans. I'm reading Showcase Brave and the Bold Team-Ups, the Batman Team-Ups, Volume 3. These are all Batman team-ups. They're from the 70s. The reason why I jumped to this one versus 1 and 2, I've got 1 and 2, but I jumped to this one to read right now. And it was from my childhood. So these are books that, where I got broken issues, and then eventually I got a subscription. So I'm reading stories that I haven't read since I was a kid. This is very much the Batman that we're reading right now today. This is what Morrison and Dini have been doing with the character. It's very much, reminiscent of the 70s Batman. Very detective-oriented stories. He's a very accessible Batman. And he teams up with Mr. Miracle, the Joker, Green Arrow, the Atom, Wildcat, and more. I mean, as the story goes on, there's a Deadman team-up and things like that. It's just such a wonderful book. And the cool part is certain team-ups happen again later in the volume. So you get to see Batman have these regular team-ups. But you see, the Wildcat one was great because he's on his Wildcat cycle, and you get to see the same problem where the story that was on television could very much have been a part of this volume. It was a very, very cool volume. They're 3-part stories, so within the story it's one issue, and they were single-contained, kind of like what Jonah Hex does, where they were one-off stories, but the story itself in the issue is broken up into 3 separate parts. So there's a lot of times where I'll read the first part, and then, come back and read the second part and then the third part, just because, a lot of times I'm reading the current continuity comics to stay caught up. This being broken up that way, and it's got wonderful Jim Aparo art. And, I talk a lot about Neil Adams and how much I love his art. Jim Aparo, as a kid, he was the Batman artist to me. And his artwork looks so sharp in this. It's all black and white, but the artwork still stands out as just really sharp and dynamic artwork, even though, it was meant to have the colors on it. I can't recommend this volume enough. I'm gushing over it right now because for anybody right now that's like, okay, we're going to be losing Bruce, obviously, for some period of time here because of this whole battle for the cowl and all that, and who knows what's going to come of all that. It's a great way to get a Bruce fix right now. And it feels very today, very current. There's some great interactions with Jim Gordon in the whole thing. It's a lot of police team-ups and superhero team-ups, and it's really exciting. It's a great read. A lot of mystery, though. So, there's parts where it gets into very blatant superhero stories, and it gets into horror stories, and it gets into... So it was a very edgy era that actually fits very well into today's sensibilities. There was very few times where I even noticed any dialogue that wouldn't necessarily fit today, if that makes sense. So it's really... I'm about halfway through the volume right now, and I'm adoring it. So it's something that if anybody's looking for a Batman fix, I can't recommend it enough. But for me, it's kind of a fun journey back into my childhood. Like some of these stories, I'm like, I remember reading this.
Cool.
This is a great book. And I was glad, what put a smile on my face from ear to ear was the fact that these stories really hold up. So if anybody else is reading any of these volumes or any showcase volumes, our listener rants thread, which is directly linked on our webpage as well. So if you're not a part of the forum, you can just browse it. These volumes typically come up every so often where people will, shout out a showcase book or a collected edition that they're reading. And it's just one that I'm really enjoying right now that I wanted to shout out.
And speaking of things I just got to massively shout out, I got to give just a huge, huge recommendation for Faces of Evil, Solomon Grundy. Now, these Faces of Evils are a series of different insights into the various villains and whatnot, and this Solomon Grundy one is just absolutely outstanding. It was one of those things where I know about Solomon Grundy, but I've never really thought he was that interesting of a character until this thing right here. And there's a Solomon Grundy miniseries coming out, and this is a direct lead-in right to it, a nice teaser, preview kind of idea of what's going to happen. Before reading this, I wasn't too excited about it. Now I am. It's great. Jeff Johns' story. It was Jeff Johns and Scott Collins. Scott Collins also did the artwork inside this, so it looks cool. It's a great story. I'm chomping at the bit for the future stuff of what's going to happen because we're seeing a little bit twists going on with Solomon Grundy. Things aren't exactly as cut and dry as a Solomon Grundy kill type thing. You still have parts of that in there, but you're you're also seeing this evolution of Grundy. We had the first initial stuff where it happened, then in Starman, he came out, he was a completely different Grundy, and then later we see the intelligent Grundy. Well, this kind of starts putting the pieces together, letting you know why we saw all these different versions of Grundy, and in this one, we're seeing a fourth Grundy, if you will, and this fourth Grundy is kind of like the original person that became Grundy, and he's got the chance to end the curse. And it's more going into it, and he gets teamed up with, of course, with one of the classic, Grundy villains, Grundy's the villain, but his adversary, Green Lantern, the original Green Lantern. That's those Scott. Two, Alan Scott, teamed up will be the miniseries. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because I was like, dang, this is, I'm like, wow. All right, hoorah.
Sounds like a good lead-in. A lot of what you're talking about with Grundy, a lot of that stuff was established, because you haven't read the whole James Robinson Starman run yet. A lot of that was established in the Robinson run, like why there were so many different variations of Grundy and how he could do. So it's great that they're built, and Jeff Johns obviously is the connection with James Robinson is very strong. So he's obviously taking a lot of what James set up with that. And I like that. I like that sense of pulling, because Grundy was very cool in that series as a good guy. And I don't want to spoil what happens with him in Starman right now, because as those volumes are coming out, people can kind of enjoy that ride. But a lot of that stuff that you're talking about was very heavily established in Starman, and I'm glad that they're taking it one step further and continuing with the progression of the character. Grundy can be very cool in the right hands. So.
Yeah, and he's definitely in good hands right now. It's, as I said, visually and story-wise, this is a wholehearted recommendation. Pick this thing up. You will not regret it.
Teen Titans number 66 I want to talk a little bit about. I'm so Titans happy at the moment, it's not even funny. This is an interesting issue because it's kind of, it brings Robin and what's happening in R.I.P. into Titans. And it kind of establishes, Robin needs to take a step away from Teen Titans at the moment. And he brings Spoiler there for moral support. But there's some really cool, interesting moments between Spoiler and Wonder Girl. Wonder Girl had a relationship of sorts with Robin. And to see now his former girlfriend Spoiler, what's going on here? Are Robin and Spoiler back together again? And there's those so many awkward moments between the two of them that read very real for me. And I love those little attentions to detail with the characters. It was like the second I saw them there, I'm like, oh, he's going to play with this, and I'm so happy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it hasn't been done.
And I tell you, I always said that as long as Robin is on around, they can change the roster around, but they got to keep Robin. They got to keep Robin on the Titans. I'm now changing my comment on that. I'm still loving it. I thought this was a great way to separate him from the Titans. There's still, of course, room for him to come back when things calm down in Gotham and his life gets a little stable. Plus, if they need him, they know to call and he will respond because Titans together. So I'm just like chomping at the bit, but how much did you want Spoiler to stay on Titans?
Oh, big time.
And I'm not even sad that she didn't stay on it. I'm like, no. It makes sense that she goes back with Robin, that he needs her. She needs to be in Gotham, they need to fix what they got going on there, fix the town. But that would have been just so cool if she would have stayed. If you see the bat jet fly off and you see Spoiler just standing there, Spoiler remains on the Titans. It still could happen, though. That's the cool thing. Teen Titans right now is so up in the air, but it's not up in the air like, what the heck are they doing? It's up in the air in that there is so much they can do. And what are they going to pull down? What's going to be the next issue? When you read it, what is going to happen? I'm like, oh, I'm so excited.
McKeever's handling of Blue Beetle, to me, is top-notch. Bringing in his friends as part of this storyline, bringing in Tracy 13, his girlfriend, as part of this storyline. Another character, you talk about one I wanted to see stay, his girlfriend Tracy 13. God, yeah. I really enjoy her as a character. What I really appreciate about McKeever, he is clearly, like, Robin felt very much like what Fabian Icieza and Freddie have been doing in Robin right now. What happened with Spoiler and Wonder Girl, I could have very much seen, we did see, the awkwardness between Spoiler and Zoanne. I really feel like McKeever's doing a lot of, and he's doing the same thing with Blue Beetle. This is very much the Blue Beetle we've been reading in his book, which is important because his book's coming to an end. I want to see that same character that I've been following for over 30 issues in his book inside Teen Titans. So I really appreciate the research that he's doing on these characters. And I liked the explanation on why there's 11 members for not 11, I mean, the team didn't establish that, but why do we need to keep a small group of members? Blue Beetle made an excellent point there, saying, if we have a, rotating roster of people that we can, regularly bring in on these missions, remember, we're not all here all the time. So it gives the opportunity to always have a full team, which fits very much what's been going on with them the past few missions. They've had a very light team because of people leaving. Whereas if they followed what he's saying right now, they would have always had members to pull from. The appearance by Cyborg.
I know.
Big
I was
Brother's
like, holy
watching.
crud, man. But here's the thing. It fits, and
yeah.
it makes so much perfect sense. This Cyborg is the big brother to them all. He will always be a Titan. He will always be the Guardian. We talk about how Cyborg's ready to be on the JLA. 100% agree. He would fit on the team, and he would actually be a strong asset to him. But he is a Titan. This is who he is. It's not to him a step down to be a part of the Team Titans. It's just as much a big deal to be a part of Titans as it is to the JLA, and I love that about the guy. There is just so many, other cool moments when Red Devil went on the kind of recruiting mission, teleporting around. A couple of the people's reaction to him. We had the Shining Knight. I was dying with that one. It just seeing him pleep up around. I don't know. I was just so giddy while I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. It was one of those books, when I put it down, I said, Sean and I have to talk about this. Just because that issue right there is one of the reasons why I love Teen Titans. You're seeing this inner dynamics, this continual growth between Blue Beetle and Red Devil, just a little bickering and banter back and forth that they do, that playful little comments that, the one can say to each other, but if somebody else were to say it, hey, that's a little insulting. Back off. Hey, only Devil can call me that. And it's that same type of camaraderie that those two have. I'm digging that, man.
Dio made an interesting comment on Newsarama. They're doing these 20 questions or 20 answers with Dan DiDio. And he always leaves a question at the end. But Titans was brought up there, and he made mention of saying that Robin's not going to be on the team right now, and Kid Flash, Superboy. People were saying, are people still going to? They want to see these iconic characters, or they want to see the main team that we're seeing over there. And Dio made mention. He said, right now, obviously, Kid Flash is not available. Robin's not currently available because of what's going on. I agreed with his sentiment that, yes, these are characters that people want to see, but also this is a chance to play around with some characters who really don't have their own books right now. And that, to me, is a strength of a team book. These characters that aren't surviving in their own series at the moment, this is a chance to establish them. Maybe for a Blue Beetle, this is an opportunity to get some people interested in Blue Beetle and maybe relaunch Blue Beetle eventually, which I'd like to see, because I'm sad to be losing that book. So I think I'm glad to see him in Titans. Character we talked about last episode, Manhunter. I want to see, where's Manhunter going to land?
We got to see her. We got to see her land somewhere, and just not in just a little blip here, blip there. I'd like to see her a regular on some team.
Bingo.
I don't know where or what team she could actually fit in on, because there's been every book I would say, oh, she could fit there, has been canceled, and I'm like, okay, this is a problem.
I think though there's some books coming up that we're not sure what that lineup's going to look like that she might fit in. So I'm hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that particular character, because I'd like to see her on a team of some sort and wind up in there. Not just in cameos, I'm with you 100%. This and Bombshell on Teen Titans. Wow, am I loving her. Her moments with Red Devil is another great example. She's fighting, and what's going to be like? Ravager's got to be coming back, right?
She's got to.
So what's that going to be like? Because those two, I see button heads like crazy. So it's going to be interesting, very interesting team dynamic. And Wonder Girl has that moment where she needs to step up now, because Wonder Girl is clearly the leader of this team now. It's a great chance for Cassie, who I think for a while there has needed, I think fans of Cassie have wanted to see her step back up again. And, got kind of tired of the whiny Cassie and wanted to see who, there's very valid reasons why she was the way she was with who she lost. But now she's become, in McKeever's run, a much stronger person. The new costume came out of her having to step up. I like the fact. How do you feel about her not having the bracelets?
On one hand, I do like the change. Yeah, I like the difference, but come on, it's old school, it's classic. It's kind of like taking away from Wonder Woman, or taking away the spiked gloves out of Batman, It's just something that's I've seen
But
every
I
single
think
time.
the Wonder Woman symbol still being on her shirt works for me. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on this one. See, for me, I think it shows that Cassie's becoming kind of her own person. Donna Troy did this too, where Donna Troy, her black outfit was very much a show that she's grown. Nightwing did this, where Nightwing very much so grew. Wonder Girl, I think, has made that same transition that Nightwing made, that Donna Troy made. These characters have gone beyond being a sidekick and kind of their own person. I would have been mad if it were completely divorced from Wonder Woman altogether. Instead, because the shirt and the costume outfit still has that Wonder Woman symbol on it, I'm like, okay, we're still having echoes of that, but we've also showing now that she has grown beyond that into something unique.
Here's the thing: Donna Troy, even in her star outfit, still had the bracelets.
I understand that,
So,
but
and it's
Cassie's
just
origins. Cassie's origins a little bit different. I'm not saying that. I guess that's what I'm saying. If it's not going to be the bracelets, at least the outfit has that.
And she still has it. And she still has the lasso, which I'm glad, but it's not the lasso she had before. It's her own. Right, yeah. And it's mentioned and it's commented, so it's good. So that's why I'm not going, oh my God, I can't believe they ruined her. No, it's a change. It's good. I enjoy the costume. I think it looks cool. I like the explanation on how she got it. It's just one of those little things where I did notice, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, all things change. The more things.
But there might also be a reason to put them back eventually.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a horrible mistake. Put them back on.
Who knows? And maybe she may get them back. Maybe she won't. But I don't see it because she's no longer really blocking things with the bracelets anymore.
Right.
She's more of just. The kind of a powerhouse. Her lasso's a little bit different than it was before. It's different than Diana's. It's its own entity, its own creation, if you will. So she's definitely cool. I'm really glad she's knuckling up and she's going to be the leader. We still had kind of a sentimental moment from her, but she did it in the privacy of her own room. So we're not going to lose the person behind Wonder Girl. We're still going to see that cool person that she was. So. There's definitely just so much to be happy about.
All of DC's major teams right now, Justice League, JSA, and Teen Titans, have female leaders.
Yeah,
We've got Black Canary, we've got Power Girl, and I just thought about it now. How cool is that these characters have gotten to that level? I'm glad to see it. I like it. It's interesting. Because I think they're good characters to expand upon on that. But I'm glad to see Cassie. I guess I'm very Cassie happy at the moment. So I'm really liking that. The idea here is to evolve her very similar to what happened with Nightwing. As I think that was the strength of the Titans book when they did that with him, to kind of show his growth. And I think Cassie's ready for this. I think fans of Cassie are ready for this. So I think that's something, because I remember when her first appearance was in Wonder Woman, and to see, this is that same gawky kid. Because Byrne introduced her, and I'm really glad to see her in this. I'm just very Cassie happy at the moment. I want to talk a little bit about Superman 683, this new Krypton story. Just how much I'm thoroughly enjoying. We get the Justice League confrontation, where Clark at this point is, and he knows it's coming. Them being there, their presence there alone is going to ignite something. The Kryptonians, some of them are looking to start something, and that's... it's like, you guys being here, you need to understand, you need to go, this is going to go off. I'm like, whoa!
This is a bad idea, guys. You need to take out, you need to trust me. And it's, I know, that I laughed out loud with the line, what happens exactly after the 30 seconds are up? And I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm. And Clark knows.
Yeah.
And what a difficult position to be in, because at this point in time, he knows that something needs to be done. And I like that he takes responsibility and says, let me handle this. Let me go in and try to do something. So he does. He goes in. I like that he doesn't go in as this wimpy guy. He goes in and confronts Allura right to her face and tries to say, hey, you need to turn them over, and you need to turn yourself in, too, for your role in this. He is the major hero on Earth. And this is a point in time where he needs to stand up as Earth's representative and be the man that he's always been. So, we've seen through these issues, he's been in a very tough position, but we see him here man up. We needed to see him do this, and I was so glad to see it. And puts the daughter in the moments with Supergirl and the mom.
Yeah.
Because she was agreeing with Clark to the point where she was taught. But when the hands went on Mom, she has to be the daughter. And I liked the confusion that she was faced with. How it made her unsure. She knew what Mom was doing was downright wrong and evil, yet it's still her mom at the end of the day. And I liked that was so difficult for her. I liked how she reacted. I liked that the hero saw it. and they reacted to it. They're like, uh-oh, this just got worse. And they knew that these are all Kryptonians. But I loved even the concept that during that battle, they were fighting a small group of hundreds of thousands of Kryptonians.
Yeah.
And basically holding their own. So
but it was only that small group of thing, and they were struggling to fight these Kryptonians, and there was only a couple. And I loved how they mentioned the fact that there's only however like 10 of them, and you're struggling with us. Mm-hmm. We're 900,000, I think it was what they said, strong. Think about that. That is a huge, just holy crap.
I am all for more Hawkman appearances. and boy, are they using him well in the DC universe right now. Between Trinity, between this, I loved his confrontations with Superman. I thought they were very well written. He's just such a great character, and I like that he's another character that I like because of his flaws as well, which we're going to talk about when we get into the JSA thing. He's an interesting character to me across the board, not because he's perfect, because of who he is.
Yeah, and he's the guy where if you need a situation where you need someone who's going to throw down hard and heavy, he's the guy you go to. And I was reading that laughing going, oh god, Sean's got to be just loving this.
I'm giddy at the moment. Yeah. I'm getting tons of Hawkman I went from no Hawkman to tons of Hawkman. Life's good.
This is a good time to be in the DCU.
Yeah. So, then they have this Black Lightning is another character I want to talk about. Boy, do I really like what he's being done with him. His dialogue, and I love that his inner dialogue didn't necessarily match his cool outer dialogue, where he's saying, this better work, otherwise that's going to sound really lame. I like those moments because you would be thinking that against Kryptonians. But I like that he had to then change his light. What happens if I do red lightning? And he had to evolve his powers in such a way where it would be more effective to the situation. Learning from the previous battle, trying something new to adapt to a situation. That, to me, I ate that up. Really great stuff. Got to talk about the ending of this issue. It looks bad for the heroes because Allura's saying, hey, you want backup?
I got backup coming here.
I got a whole, planet full of backup here that's going to take you guys down. The magic users show up. Magic users from throughout the DC universe. I loved seeing J.J. Thunder from the JSA. I loved seeing Zatanna, Dr. Fate. All these wonderful characters being brought in to say, hey, now we're going to use magic on you.
Yeah. Hey, that's how you got to fight Kryptonians is with magic. They're susceptible to it, and they probably don't even know their weakness is magic. So you're going into this fight with a slight advantage. Now, that advantage will disappear really quickly once you do your initial magic onslaught, but you probably have at least one, maybe two free punches to give before they all realize, okay, this can hurt us, and this can hurt us bad. Because you think about when they fought... what's his name? The Kryptonian, the Kryptonite men who had the Kryptonite in them. It took them a couple bit to realize, okay, we're getting killed here. We're getting slaughtered. We need to change our tactics around with these guys. So yeah, it's definitely looking forward to that next issue in the series.
That, to me, is what really works about this whole series, though, is it's been every issue I've been looking forward to. Supergirl, Superman, Action Comics, all of them. I'm looking forward to following the story. I've liked, it's bittersweet that they're going to be going to different arcs for a while. I'm hoping that it leads back to going back to the bulleted numbering, because I've really liked the weekly Superman, or close to weekly Superman fix that we've been getting from this with the specials and everything. I like that storytelling. It always worked in Superman, and it's something that I thought really worked in this particular story arc.
Yeah, and it's, I understand why people are like, I don't want to buy every single Superman title. I just want to buy the one. But for me, I don't know. I'm just so loving. This is what I want from a family story. I want them all to be interconnected like this. Same thing with the Bat family. I would want them to be all interconnected. Yeah.
I like the story enough that I already saw this month. Guess what's solicited this month?
What?
Well, take a guess if I'm saying I like this story so much.
The Hawkman.
No. The Superman New Krypton story.
Oh, okay.
What do you think's been solicited?
Hardcover. Yeah.
Am I guessing you're in the same place I'm at with that?
Dude, that's a given. Come on.
And it's going to be like a multi-volume hardcover collection. Similar.
My hardcover volume has since it's growing, leaps and bounds, and to the point where I'm looking at past hardcovers that I didn't pick up. Going,
it's the high quality paper too, and it bound that way. That's for a storyline that I really liked. That's my collected preference. Is collected in hardcover on the high quality paper. That way, because obviously if you're going to go to a hardcover purchase, You want it to be the storylines you love. I like it better than the soft covers, though. I really do.
Yeah, it's a little bit, it's a more durable, but the other thing I kind of like to do is when I meet a creator, have them sign like the inside cover of the hard cover, because it's, it's cool to have them sign covers and you get them framed, you get them mounted on the wall, but there's something about that hard cover when you have it, you open it up and you see right there the signature, and because sometimes they'll write something, hey, have a good day, or whatever, so it's like, there's something about that. So I definitely picking up this. Definitely going to get some signatures on that cover. Just the inside cover there, and
this is a storyline I'll read and reread, though.
Big time.
This was an issue, though, that I needed because it's got me a lot more confidence in this Superman in space storyline, in the sense that we're seeing here the intense responsibility that Superman has in this situation. He brought these people here, doing what he thought was the right thing. And he was right to do it, but now we're going to have to deal with the consequences. And the consequences are that clearly these people can't stay on Earth, right?
Yeah.
The Kryptonians are leaving.
They have to, and whether they get shrunk back down to a little size, whether the city gets moved somewhere, there's something's going to happen, and it has to happen because there's too much imbalance in the universe right now.
Well, the current Green Arrow writer, I guess, is doing that Superman World of Krypton book that's going to be going. Did you hear about that one?
No, I haven't.
I think that's what it's called. And if it's not, I apologize at the moment. I'm doing this kind of off the cuff. But it's the current Green Arrow writer who's currently writing. I think that's the one who's taking over on this. And if I'm wrong on my placement of that, I apologize. But that, to me, looks like it's going to be the story of Kandor, I would guess.
That'd be
World
cool.
of Krypton?
Yeah,
right?
I'm guessing that they either figure out a way to move the city or shrink it down and put it back somewhere else, because they are like, we can't shrink it down and keep it shrunk because they've been back to full size.
Or maybe finding a home for them.
Right.
That could be the saga of finding a proper home for those. That's why Superman has to go in space to find them a home, because he's responsible.
Yeah.
And, it's his chance to not, eject them from the Earth, but to take responsibility for his actions and try to find these people. It's kind of his legacy from his parents. He is Kal-El from Krypton. This is his chance to, do something good for those people.
And we saw in Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes that they found the city of Kandor in the future. So maybe this is the placement of that city.
Could be. Is it? The whole Legion thing, all bets are off with the Legion.
Oh, yeah, for me. There's so many.
Because I think we're going to see some major change with the Legion. Obviously, I know we're going to see that. So that's kind of the nice thing about the DC Future universe, though. It's always like a rubber band. It can be bent and shaped and twisted and moved around as needed and stretched.
Manipulated
to fit,
and tweaked.
Right.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I think you need to do that with any kind of future universe storytelling. You need to make that kind of adjustable to whatever happens in present continuity, because otherwise you get trapped. You can't tell stories in present day in certain areas because you've already set the future in stone. I don't want the future ever set in stone. I want there to be echoes of what's happening so it's fun. I think it's interesting. I got to talk about Secret Six number 5.
Yeah.
For anybody who has never read Nightfall, if you're reading Secret Six right now, this Bane is the exact same Bane in Nightfall.
I only have one rule in dealing with an enemy. Give them nothing. No solace, no mercy, no kindness, no torment, no provisions, and most assuredly, not satisfaction. I'm like, oh!
The close-ups of his mask and just the internal dialogue and making the decision to, it really not even just to stand by the team, but to stand by himself and not to give in to, his adversaries here. That fits the psychological man that Bane is. This isn't the gooey Bane that we saw in Batman and Robin the movie. This is Bane, the Bane that broke Batman. And that's really important to see that he did it with smarts. When he did that at that point in time, he took Batman down by wearing him out. And it was a smart, calculated move. He threw the entire Arkham Asylum at Batman, and that was how he pulled it off. If you haven't read Nightfall, go read it. Read about this guy. Learn who he is. And it's interesting to see how much Gail Simone went out of her way to understand this character. The artwork, to me, is... I can't...
He gets tortured.
I love Nicola Scott.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she and Doug Hazelwood, what they're doing in this book is just breathtaking.
And he gets tortured in this by having bricks thrown at him. That is
he's counting along with Junior.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, and that to me is just got to be one of the most unique forms of torture I have ever read. I was like, and I've read all types of various sadistic books out there that go into real life torturing techniques. Throwing bricks at a guy, as far as I know, has never been done before. And you know what? If it had been any normal person, it would have worked, but not Bane. And as he's being tortured, as he's getting hit, he not only, as we said, keeps track of the bricks and even uses that to kind of dig a little jab into Junior, when he tells him basically to off. He uses the fact that he's bleeding profusely to lubricate the chains and slip out a hand. I was like, oh my God, this dude is awesome.
Wait, and our favorite conjoined twins. Wait, is it those two sidekicks of Junior's couldn't be any more creepy? With their little suits and everything like that, they looked like door-to-door salesmen. But they were conjoined, and the one is has this perversion about showing it off. It was just, these guys are so twisted. But then Bane kills him. The guy's chained up having bricks thrown at him, and he still kills a man. Wait, clearly showing, too, that Bane is not a good guy. You're cheering for him, and I cheer for these guys. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is my favorite team right now, and they are so twisted, it's not even funny. And let's do a spoiler warning right here, because I want to...
We're gonna spoil one of the big secrets of Junior. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't read it and you're like, I don't want to be spoiled, fast forward now, because this is a huge thing. And
we're ending off this segment on Secret 6, so this is a good time right now if you don't want to. Because we're not trying to ruin this for anybody. Right. Just take a look in the show notes and you can see where our next segment begins. Because we're not going to talk about anything other than Secret 6 at this point.
Oh my God.
He's a lady. Whoa, 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 he's a lady. I couldn't. Oh my gosh.
Hold on, Sean. That gets a.
I don't know what's wrong with it. I was thinking Tom Jones when I saw that.
Now I will. I didn't before, but now I do.
This is why this is my favorite book, though, because it was a very creepy segment, and I never lost that, but I couldn't help laugh at it either. It was Ragdoll's sister.
Yeah. Talk about a swerve I did not see coming.
No.
Even when Ragdoll tells her, oh yeah, Father always liked you best. The first thought that popped in my head was like, oh my God, Junior is the brother. And hence why Junior, he's probably the same name, he's probably the older brother. And I'm going through all this stuff, so I'm like, okay, yeah, it's got to be like, he's just like the, no, not the brother. And that last page, full page, viewing of her with the robes and all that, everything off, that was just so creepy, so freaky that I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. And it's like that car crash, train wreck that you see. You can't stop yourself from looking. You're like telling yourself, stop looking now, look away, and I couldn't. It was just so, wow.
This book is so wrong, it's right.
I know. It is absolutely beautiful in its perversion and disgustingness. It is just, it's like,
This needs to be collected in hardcover.
Yes, this needs to be absolute. Yeah. I want absolute Secret 6, man.
Right. I don't think we're going to get that, but no. I think we're going to get hardcover.
Oh, please.
I hope. Please put this in. I haven't seen it. I actually looked this month because I'm like, we got about enough issues in right now that we should be seeing a collection of this. And I haven't seen any collection listed yet, which I'm very disappointed in because I want to get it collected. I want it in hardcover, though. I really want this in hardcover.
Yeah.
Because I want that in the high-quality paper with that art. Because that artwork, it really is, for me, the hardcovers are a great showcase of the artwork, but this is one, I'm already planning to rebuy it.
Yeah.
I'm begging. Wait, it's pretty scary that I'm begging to rebuy this.
Yeah, I know.
Because I've got the issues.
Hey, come on. I'm thinking this may... Yeah, I've never bought the pages... Mm-hmm. Before, like when you go to cons and you see the different pages, I've never bought that. Never even been tempted to. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, I think I'd want that one page. There's a couple pages from especially this issue but I'm thinking like if I ever had the chance to buy one, I think I would.
She is my favorite artist right now. There's something about her artwork that is just grabbing me like crazy, and I would love to meet her and get a commission done by her. I just think she's incredibly talented, and I would love to. Art's everybody's got their own favorite artist for whatever reasons. There's something about her artwork that has, since I've seen her on Birds of Prey, has just connected with me. And I'm always amazed when I see something where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting even better. Yeah. I was very happy last year with everything she was doing. And it was like this year, and it really has been since I enjoyed the ending of her run on Birds of Prey, but it was really like the first issue of Secret Six when it came out, I was like, whoa, what happened here? Wow.
Yeah.
The energy coming off the pages was like,
Yeah, I know. She's just amazing, outstanding.
Yeah.
Loving it. And also, speaking of loving that, Jeanette, the new character.
Oh, is she great or what?
Oh, yeah. And I think I got her figured out. Mm-hmm. I got one of two ways. She's either vampire or she's undead. I'm not sure which one she is, whether she's undead vampire or if she's just some other type of undead. She cannot be part of the land of the living. And part of the reason, it just, you look at her, you see the superhuman strength. We've never really seen her outside in the daytime. So I'm thinking, okay, that's why I was thinking vampire. But the other thing is, her casino. I noticed it this past time when she was questioning Cheshire, and a beautiful way to question her. I have a kid. I don't care. I'm like, yes, I love her. But also, when Cheshire gets back to her saying, I'm going to kill you for this, she's like, that boat's long sailed. So right there, that's telling me something, that she's got to be undead. But also, her casino, the Nocturne, it looks like it's a pentagram. The building, I'm looking at it from the one outside sequence. It looked like a star, and then the actual surrounding it, she had like fountains kind of and greenery and whatnot, forming the circle around it. So I was like, oh, that is cool.
Wow. See, I didn't catch, I'll be perfectly 100% honest with you, I didn't catch any of that. Yeah. And I've read this 4 times.
I know.
I mean, just for fun. I mean, not for any, I figured this is going to be an off-the-cuffs feeding bullets segment. We do it real quick. I'm having so much, this book has made me grin from ear to ear. I didn't catch any of that, and you've kind of added, I'm going to go back and reread now and check all that stuff out. I didn't, Jeanette, I hadn't really had a theory on her other than that I've been enjoying her. I love the whole explanation that when the team was gassed out and down and everything like that, or poisoned, I should say, she had her squad already in place ready to handle such a situation. I mean,
yeah.
Who wouldn't? I mean, her employees. This goes to show, though, that she's got some serious power and she's got some serious financial muscle, which will be interesting to see how that affects this team.
Hey, money talks in Vegas, so, it's not, what you know, who you know, it's how much money you have. That's the main source of power in that town. And if she got this massive casino like she has, she's got some backing to her. Whether it's her money, and who knows, it could be just from being alive for multiple thousands of years, or it could be she's got something more to her behind the scenes that we haven't seen yet. See, that's the thing I'm loving about Secret Six. We're getting these bits and pieces. Like, we had some cool inner dialogue from Deadshot this time. We're starting to flush out Jeanette, but there's still so much more of a mystery behind every one of these characters, where there is just this limitless growth and change in what we have. And forget the fact that all you got to do is just add another person, rotate it around a little bit, and you got a whole new team, a whole new, just wonderful perversions you can go in. It's just, oh.
I love that with it being the Faces of Evil month, you can just put one of the main characters on the cover. It's great. Deadshot's on the cover. I'm like, well, yeah, why not? And how cool is that? I like that twist, though, that because it's the book, it's the main throw on her. Yeah, it's because, hey, this is our month. It was funny. As I was looking at Junior and we got the Junior reveal, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I would love a whole series on Ragdoll and Junior's childhood. Oh, God. What was that home life like?
Oh my God,
I'd like to
that
see
has
mom
yeah.
and the aunts and uncles, and is this something that runs in the family, or is it something that happened during childbirth? What happened to these two?
Because Ragdoll is just basically he broke the bones himself and then had put pivots and swivels. I'm thinking Junior tried it and wasn't able to get the swivels right. That's why she's all distorted and deformed and whatnot. So that's what my guess. But we don't know yet. That I don't know if we'll ever know, and I'm really scary to find out. So it's like, oh.
To tell you how much I genuinely get into her work, I started playing 6 Degrees of Gail Simone instead of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Okay, so she writes Secret Six, right? In Secret Six is Ragdoll, who's a contortionist. On the show That's Incredible, there was a Yogi Kudu who was a contortionist. They dumped in a box. Yeah, I know it's really weird that I'm doing a Yogi Kudu reference on Raging Bullets. Who was put into a box, chained up, dumped into a pool, right? Okay? On the show That's Incredible was Kathy Lee Crosby, John Davidson, and Fran Tarkington. Kathy Lee Crosby played Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a book that Gail Simone currently writes for the DC Universe.
Oh, my God.
There's my 6. There's something wrong with me.
There's not something. There's multiple things.
Yeah. Just ask my wife. Yeah. This was fun. This is a great book. But this is the kind of energy, it's when we talk about her stuff, it's one of the things that actually started me wanting to podcast is when she was doing Birds of Prey, I was having so much fun reading that I wanted to just talk more. I wanted to talk like this about, comic work. And that's what's fun about this podcast. It's really why more than a review show, I think our show has become more of just a chat show. It's two fans just chatting about comics, having the kind of conversation. I don't really care about, whether it's a concise review or anything like that anymore. I care about having the experience that we've always wanted to have with comics. Being able to sit down and chat. Hey, did you see what happened last week in the comics? Yeah. That's what this show's about. And it really kind of evolved with that quite quickly because that's the kind of conversations I've always wanted to have. There's a lot of review sites that do that so well out there that I'm not looking to, I'm a fan who wants to talk about comics like a fan. And I think it's been nice that you have it's so naturally just kind of embraced it because the stuff you were just saying about Jeanette, it totally blew me away. I'm like, I want to read this again. That's the kind of fun stuff that I think has come out of this show. So it's kind of neat. So anyway, thanks. If you aren't reading Secret Six, please, all the books actually we mentioned this month, that whole list right there in this particular episode.
Yeah, I know. You jump on it, dudes.
Those are some of my favorite books right now, all of those.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. All right, Jim, let's jump back into talking about JSA, then we'll talk JLA.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
You're ready to move up.
Jim, our first review is going to be of Justice Society of America number 21, continuing our... actually, we're going to close off the whole saga here with 21 and 22. This was interesting. There was no creative team listed on the inside of that book. It's going off the cover. It's Johns, Ross, Eaglesham, Ordway, Wyachek, Massengill, and just major apologies to colors, letters, and editorial. Editorial's the same that we'll talk about in 22. But I didn't have that info for the book, which was interesting. So there wasn't actually a creative team page on this particular issue. This is one of the strengths of the JSA. We get the inner dialogue from Citizen Steel and his disappointment at not being helped by Gog. With each story, Johns has been a master of giving us insight into this large cast. To me, it's where this works as a masterpiece. It could have easily been too many characters. They all get lost in the pages. How do you do that? It's the concept that his metal shell is to hold back his impossible strength versus giving him strength. It's his suit is to hold him back, not because he's just so powerful. And we see that in 22. We're going to see that pay off. Very interesting, the twist on his particular powers. You tell him, Hawkman. He's got a bite. There is no way that he's bowing to that horned goof.
I know. That was a Neil and Paula before me. And I as soon as I read it, I just started laughing, going, Hawkman ain't doing that.
Now, in fairness, did you notice that Amazing Man and all of them waited for Hawkman's leave when David bowed? Okay, what's Carter going to do?
Yeah. Well, it fits the characters. All of them who just, they're like, what? Wait a minute, Magog got down right on one knee, because we saw that through the one-shots, saw his evolution, his change into his blind obedience to Gog, and it makes sense, and I understand it. It wasn't just what we saw. There was those side stories about him, about his embracing of who he is now, so that made perfect sense. You got Steel, who's like, hey, what are we doing? How do I do this? What should I do? Because he wants to get something back from God. He wants to be cured. He wants to be normal again. So he's got the hesitation. He wants to do it. But Amazing Man, Carter, they're like, this isn't our deal, man. This is who we are. It's the same type of people when they saw the poisoned water, they jumped to action. Instead of running to Gog, hey, Gog, help us out here. No, these are the guys who started doing stuff on their own, figuring, okay, what can we do to divert the water? What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? So they are definitely strong characters. And I was like, yeah.
Well, also, though, remember, Gog wasn't doing a lot of those things. He was just kind of walking along doing his own thing. He wasn't noticing the little stuff. He was noticing the people that would benefit him.
Right.
He wasn't noticing the things that would benefit others, which was an interesting little twist with Gog. I started to notice that was his MO all along. He's done a lot of good, but like anything, there's a price, and this is we start to deal with that issue as it goes along. Gog talks about the world's God, abandoning it after creation, letting the people grow and make their own choices, grow to their own potential. And this is the part where Gog lost it, because he didn't realize, wait, this is a sharp contrast to his saving it then destroying it, which would have been Gog's deal. Oh, sure, you're going to save us and do all these great things for us, but we're dead then. Interesting commentary on religion in general, that we should use religion to somehow better ourselves and use those messages that we get from religion, not as necessarily set in stone, but as a way to, connect with it and personalize it. I think that's where religion works the best, is when we all, instead of blindly following it, we kind of take a look at faith and say, okay, what out of this can I use to improve myself, to make myself a better person, and do things myself, versus waiting for somebody else to miraculously save me. I think that's where sometimes religion has a negative effect, is when people are just waiting to be saved instead of, doing something and taking action themselves. Each member of this group brings something to the table. Sand has learned the horrible truth. Gog has formed this parasitic relationship with the earth. Speculation really worked for me here. They aren't sure if he knows it, but he saves the world in 7 days and then destroys it by leaving. It does add to the question, is Gog really noble but clueless to the after effects? Or does he know and feel it's his just reward for saving everyone? Interesting debate. I
say column B. He knows that if he were to leave it after being fused, it would destroy, but he's like, why would I leave? This is my, I'm making a paradise for you. I'm not going to abandon you. You are my children. I will take care of you. I will give you this peace. I will give you this utopia. All you have to do is just worship me. And if you don't worship me, then you will nourish those who do.
And when you're all gone, if that ends up being the case, I will go and find another world that will
embrace him.
Right. So it's interesting, as he does promise to say, which is interesting on that part.
I liked how when the JSA shows up and they're telling everybody, hey, this is what's going on. It was, they had the initial boom blast of saying what's going on, but it was a lot of one-on-one dealings. You saw the two Wildcats, father, the son, telling him. You saw Liberty Bell trying to reason with Damage. Superman going to Magog saying, hey, there's a price to this. I like that's another strength for the JSA, that it's not just, hey, guys, here. No, there's a person, there's personalization of this, of the team, who they are. There's relations within the team, and there's, friendships and bonding, and you don't trust everybody automatically. No, this is somebody, okay, yeah. Like going to Carter, it was, both Alan and Jay talking to Carter.
Right.
Because those are the only two.
There's a betrayal of trust there by the three of them.
Yeah.
Because the three of them, when they started to get back together, and they had a goal for this team, and Carter actually betrayed that trust to a certain extent by going on. And it's an interesting part we'll have to talk about when we get into issue 22, because it's clear that there's going to be after effects of this that are going to be interesting. Again, this dictator god gives no freedom of choice. It's his concept of peace, not their own. Free will isn't in the cards. Citizen Steel needs to know the truth. He is willing to give up his fondest hopes to learn what is right. Interesting contrast to what we saw from him in the Kingdom issue. Gog tries to connect with him, but he stands firm, physically and emotionally. When Alan is knocked back, Steel senses the truth. And it's, interesting.
Dude, this was just such a true hero moment for me, because, the big gust of wind, everyone blowing, he's standing firm, standing tall, and Gog offers him just what he wants. He's offered to make him normal again. It's time, I will heal you. Granted, he's doing it because he knows that Steel may be able to fight him. So, hey, I'm going to get rid of this powerhouse who, now's the chance for Gog to benefit from healing Steel, and that's why he's offering it to him. But he makes the offer. They have that one panel of hesitation where you see him just thinking about it. And any normal person would think about it. This
sure.
is his heart's desire.
Sure.
He can no longer hold and play with his nieces and nephews, or even think of having any type of, affectionate, relation with a female, because he's afraid he'll crush them because he can't feel anything,
Right.
and he's got this uncontrollable strength about him.
And from a selfish standpoint, he's unable to feel anything.
Right. There's so much more.
There's that end of it too. Forget just the other person, which, that would be the noble side of him. But the other side of him, there's a certain selfish side of you that would say, I can't feel any type of physical pleasure, contact, things like that.
I so love that hesitation. It's just that defiant no.
Yeah.
No lengthy speech, no nothing, just a dude, it's on now. Let's throw down.
And the pause and the hesitation, the buildup of what we saw at the Columbus School in that previous special, that stuff really added to me to the heroic moment there. So it was really one of those where I'm glad that they fleshed this out and developed it. Jay is unwilling to worship Gog, so Gog turns him into a power source to sustain the world, making use of the Speed Force now. Gog just tapped into the Speed Force.
Yeah, and just jazzed him up with more power than he could really handle.
He used the conduit, right.
But how cool was it? Superman steps in for the save. And I ate that up, but I also liked Terrific's reaction to it.
Did you just punch a bolt of lightning? Wow.
It is so cool that a hero like, Mr. Terrific, who has been on every possible team imaginable, he has done things and seen things, he would still be a little bit, whoa, wow, you just did that. That's kind of cool.
Very cool Superman moment. Doc Midnight is trying to slow him down before he disperses into the Speed Force. The whole team rallies together now to save the planet. I love that Alan takes on the classic armor from Kingdom Come, and they plan to give Gog, basically take it back. Give us the Earth back. Leave us alone. That type of thing. Wow. Now, here is where we see the real Gog. If you worship him, he gives you love, but he can be cruel. When he takes all of this stuff back, he does it with a vicious streak. He even causes intense pain to Citizen Steel, who he gave no gifts to. He tortures Alan and Terrific with dead family. This gives Clark the opening he needed to reach David. I loved this, that Clark recognized at the moment, this is a chance for me to be a leader, to inspire this person who really isn't a bad guy. He could have taken down David at this point, knowing what Magog was like on his world. But he's recognizing, wait a minute, this is a different world. This is a different Magog. This is David. I can reach this guy. Let me talk to him to break the cycle. Magog believed in him, but now he has to face the facts that this God is not helping. He is hurting. Gog may have saved him, but what will happen to him now that his gifts going to be stripped away? Because he turns on David too.
Well, David defies him,
right.
And I love that. That was another just cool, true hero moment. Where he's like, you're my boy. Come on, I did this for you. Look what I did for you. Are you going to defy me too? And he's like, yeah. If I have to choose between serving you and death, I choose death. And that just
powerful.
Yeah, and. One of the things that through this issue, through the next issue, that really just impresses me about good team writing is the team fight dynamics. We see in this one where they're hitting them multiple stages. Flyers up top, ground pounders on the legs. Hit front and back. One hits the top, one hits the back. Try to rock him. Try to knock him off his feet. You see this type of cool just usage of the powers through these next two issues,
and nobody gets lost.
Yeah. I know, and this is why I love team books when they're written, with a strong writer, and that's why I feel really so bad for whoever's taken over for Jeff.
We know who it is.
Yeah.
It's the Fables team.
Right.
I've got to say, though, if you talk about the Fables team, think of the cast that's in Fables, the sheer size of the cast in Fables, and how successfully they've been able to spotlight and shift between them. If there is a team that could handle this book, I have a lot more confidence in them on this type of book, because I think this is a superhero team book that will cater to their strengths that we've already seen in Fables. They know what to do with the classic and how to make the classic modern, and how to utilize what's good about the classic stories and bring them into the modern stories. They've done that with Fables. I think this team is like, this book is like catered to their strengths. I think we're going to get an interesting book out of this team. I do.
Yeah, and you know what? I got faith I'm definitely, of course, I'm in and reading more, but it just, think about just how hard is it going to be to follow this story, and then
Agreed.
next, the Black Adam story. How hard is it going to be to follow that? You got to be thinking, are they thinking, man, Jeff, you could have gone out a little bit softer, helped us out here, man.
And it may take a couple of arcs to get in that groove.
Yeah.
Very similar. Remember with Titans.
Oh, yeah. He had to get his flow, had to get the Titans team to where he wanted it, and now...
and get his own, feel for it. I mean,
And
sometimes
now,
those things take a little bit of time. I'm not saying that I think the first couple arcs are going to be great from that team, but I think that, like anything, you got to give it a couple arcs for them to get stabilize what they want to do with the book. I do like how religion is explored in comics. It does lead to the concept of, free will. In a world where people kill for religion, it goes to show that we need to use religion to better ourselves and bring something good to the world, but not to distance and alienate ourselves due to religion. And that's where, it becomes kind of a catchy thing. The JSA is obviously made up of people of a variety of beliefs, and even Michael, who doesn't really have a faith. Together they are stronger because of the differences they bring to the table, and I love how they are standing in the face of this God, because of that. But they're all very different in what their beliefs were and where their backgrounds are. So it's clear, that these people all have a variety of, but there's something stronger because of it. It's an interesting message about how we as a society, we as a people, and I'm talking about worldwide, have to view our own stance on religion. I'm not saying abandon religion. I don't mean it that way. I'm a religious person. I have religious beliefs and that type of thing. But I think we all need to kind of take some of the messages from comics. Comics are really good at bringing a whole bunch of variety of people together, the best comics, from a variety of different beliefs, a variety of different backgrounds, and showing how we're all stronger because of that when they draw off of those strengths. Every religion has certain strengths that they bring to people. All of those religions, it doesn't matter about right or wrong, because it's all faith anyway. We're all believing in things that we can't necessarily prove, but yet if you pull all the strengths that people gather from religion and from the different religions and put them together, you get cool moments like this in comics that I think it's an interesting message for society that you get from a book like this. I think it was a very cool message. This arc really grabbed me in a way that I didn't expect, and it's funny. We're doing Raging Oscars next week. It was funny how much the ending of this made me change some of the things that I was putting down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little tease that we're going to be chatting about next week, but I mean, 2008 was just an incredible year for comics.
I know. The Raging Oscars have been very difficult for me.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been painful, and I'm like, how do I
Painful in a good way, though.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I don't, honestly,
Yeah.
The amount of time I spent on this year's versus the amount of time I spent on last year's, it's been astronomically more. Because I started this early to give myself kind of a framework to work off of, knowing that I was going to change things along the way. And I'm like, oh my.
Yeah, I'm still working on mine.
I am too. Oh, mine's not done. Yeah. Because there's books that I have right now that are tied. There's books that I have that I've got some categories where I have like 7 or 8 things that I've got to whittle down for a variety of reasons, and they all belong there. But I want to get it down to one, if that makes sense. I actually had a couple of things where I needed to. I actually set up my own. You probably did the same thing. Category. Because it didn't fit into other categories, but I wanted to acknowledge things, and I know you've done the same thing, right? Did you do that? Yeah, I know. Yeah. So it's interesting.
You'll see what I did.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that next week. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. Any of our listeners that want to send stuff in for that, send it to senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com. That is going to be next week's show. JSA number 22, story by Jeff Johns and Alex Ross. Writer is Jeff Johns, penciler Dale Eaglesham. Painted pages by Alex Ross. The inker is Nathan Massengill. Colorist Hi-Fi, letterer Rob Lay. Assistant editor Harvey Richards. Editor is Michael Siglane. Cover by Alex Ross. Alternate cover by Eaglesham and Hi-Fi. And a special thanks on this issue to Mark Wade. I was glad that our discussion went so lengthy last week that I'm like, oh, it would have really stunk if we didn't do this as a 2-part segment and we didn't get the final issue, especially after reading the final issue.
Oh my god, dude!
This needed to be on this episode.
Yeah. This was just. There were so many moments when I just put this book down, saying, "Wow!" I had so many wow moments from this book.
And really, this was the issue where by the end of it, I was like, wow, what an interesting side story, sequel, whatever, to Kingdom Come, and how it just so easily flows back into everything that's already been written about Kingdom Come, including it doesn't contradict anything that Wade did either, in the Kingdom. So it's really nice for fans of both series that this really fits really nicely right back into it. And it actually, to me, added to the whole Kingdom Come experience and didn't take anything away from it. It actually added more depth to it and more understanding and more hoorah to a story that, to me, is a classic. The issue kicks off with Kingdom Come Superman's inner dialogue. He is seeing the terrible events that he feared happening on this world coming to life again. They were his biggest fears when he came here. I do like the idea that he walked away when the world turned their back on him, but also realizes he returned too late to prevent this from happening on his world. It adds a sense of guilt to him, which I really liked. This has become for him a chance at redemption, a chance to do things right. And yet, he's going to find out partway through this issue that it's not necessarily what he needs to do for redemption. I like how this is a journey of self-discovery for where his responsibilities lie and what he needs to do to be responsible. I like that Superman isn't always perfect, and that even Superman can learn from situations. To me, it adds the most human Superman, the Superman that we can connect with like that, is some of my favorite moments for Superman, that he is still... It's why he is kind of a shining beacon in the sense that when he does learn from it, you have these powerful moments with him, with this icon, that make him a stronger character, that make him look even cooler than he already does. And I think it's that accessibility that makes him neat.
Yeah.
Gog is given many gifts, but now the bill has come. This is interesting. Religion, like I said, it's about giving inner strength. It drives you to find an identity. It's not about what is given to you, it's about how you use it. In this case, Gog expects worship in a kind of barter exchange, which will ultimately destroy the planet. And I really like David as a character due to his special. He is realizing that living as Magog will mean nothing without freedom. Gog is almost like a dictator, and he flashes out against it. And it was a great, powerful moment for Dave where I'm like, I want to see more from this guy. I want to see David continue on the team. And I'm so glad that it looks like we might get that from David.
Yeah, this is, remember, this is a guy who signed up, enlisted in the Army because of the 9/11 attacks.
Sure.
This is a man his family is a legacy in the military. He is a soldier. He's special ops. He has excelled and pushed himself to the limits. We saw in that special just how much team, concept, just how much of that is a part of him. It's, beyond being a soldier. It's beyond being a hero. It's who he is. These aren't just his job. This is his nature of his being. And you see that strength in him. And as I said, and it was, just like you said, that one shot that really gave me this insight into this guy, really made me like this guy, want to see him around.
And how much legacy and responsibility means to him, which, with his JSA legacy as well. But when you're talking about the military legacy, he is a man about responsibility and taking responsibility and taking ownership for responsibility and trying to react accordingly to that. And I really like that we see in this, especially when we get towards the end, we're going to see from him having to realize where he was irresponsible almost to this team.
Yeah.
And we see him man up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, when Gog is about to take out David, the team shows up, and the spread with the team using the lanterns change was a beautifully drawn moment. I love the art of Dale Eaglesham, and this is a great example of another scene I would adore as a poster. The team pulling on the chains. You're seeing all the different members. I like the use that Green Lantern's power isn't just about him using it. It's about how can I utilize it and add something to the team. You see this everybody's involved in different ways, whether they're on the ground or they're in the air, and Starman chastising him, scolding him. This is just a great scene.
Gog, this is our Earth, and we're going to take it and go home now. I was just like, and he's wagging the finger at him while he does it. I'm like, oh my God, this
Starman
is outstanding.
Rocks. Yeah, he just rocks. Reality has come calling for people like Damage, who we see step up. Imagine being cured of that kind of scarring and then being given it back. The shame of realizing you were so wrong about everything. Being smacked in your face by the one you put your trust in. Everybody get clear. I'm going off on the Jolly Green Giant. I was so ready for this. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, big old boom. That was and he hit him with everything he had. That was a rage-infueled explosion.
Oh, yeah.
And Gog just brushed it off. I think it did some damage.
No, you saw on the page, too, the battle damage on Gog in the first panel.
Yeah.
Fingers were blown off. There were whole big chunks of him taken out. That was in one panel. Then the next panel over, he's instantly healed.
Yeah.
So, he did a ton of damage on him. I'm assuming because he pulled the power from the Earth again.
Yeah.
That's where he healed himself. This can be dangerous in battle because he's draining the planet, the longer it continues. So they need to separate him, which becomes an interesting little point there. So it actually, I think the team learned something from what Damage did, because their next reaction to it, they saw that Gog can be hurt, but they also saw that he can heal himself quite quickly. I think the team pulled Damage, gave them an opening.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You so know that Steel was looking for this moment, the chance to be noticed. This moment quickly made me remember that Steel's suit holds back his power. Wow. He normally has to control himself his entire life. To be able to take that suit down and just let go and haul off. Oh, to stand against a god. Wow, was this impressive. The stern look on his face, the resolve of the moment, it shows what masters Johns and Eaglesham have been on this run with the character development. I really feel like I know Steel at this stage, and I'm like, wow, just to see him in this moment, I was cheering for this guy panel after panel after panel, and it really is, you could have put anybody in that spot, but because we know him the way we do, it was a powerful, powerful moment, and that's where it works so well for me.
Yeah, and I tell you that, the sequencing where you're talking about, he drops off the thing. He, it's bare skin on whatever Gog is. That just, for me, is a more powerful message. We had it was Mosaic Green Lantern, where John Stewart was building up those walls, blocking everybody. He, you see this thing where he takes off the glove and he goes, the bare skin on the ring.
Ow.
Yeah. And it's just, there's just so much, that it was like a powerful moment beyond even just, this is him accepting the man in the mask, accepting that role of who he is. He's not able to, control it. He's not able to think. He won't have a normal life. He knows it and he's okay with it because this is what he's got to do. It's turning the negative into a positive. And it's one of the strongest ideologies that we see in heroes, in comic books, that it's, yes, there's something wrong here, there's something not normal, but I'm going to use it for good. I'm going to do the right thing with this, and he unleashes it. Every time he punches, that hurt like all heck, but it didn't matter because he had a job to do. He wasn't going to stop, he couldn't quit, and I was like, yes!
He's not ambivalent, he's inspirational. At that moment, I'm just like, whoa. I ate it up. I really did. It added so much to the moment where they took him down together. He gave the team an opening, and each jumped in. Cyclone saves lives. Starman's gravity keeping him down like Gulliver. Of course, I think he's more interested in Gog making giant snow angels, and I love the humor that he brings to the book, because I'm like sitting here, I'm like, yeah, that fits this crazy loony guy. And David takes Gog's head off, which leads to some powerful Superman moments. Cyclone was there for him. Now he has the chance to be there for her. He knows she looks up to him. And this is what makes Superman great. In the middle of all this, he takes the time to acknowledge her. Gog would Gog would have completely ignored her in any type of situation like this because, that he would have had a very different focus. Superman takes the time. While not stopping what he's doing, midway through this, he's multitasking to remind her she needs to never stop saving people. Also, never to quit. Wow. Again, helping her to avoid his mistakes, which is where Superman becomes a true hero, a true inspiration. He can take something that he's done wrong and turn it into an inspirational experience for somebody else because he's not afraid to confront that head on. And he did in that moment, and I loved it. He gave her something to walk away from. It added something to the moments he had with Clark, with Diana, stuff that he's been doing throughout this entire series. It just added a lot of depth to that, and I'm like, woo. Starman can get away with a yabba dabba doo rally cry, and I liked it. Gog is taken out to the source wall where the other gods from the third world are, but the really powerful moment comes from when he digs at Superman. How can you judge me when you have done what you accuse me of? Clark has to face the harsh reality here. He abandoned his world when Magog took over. He also has his, in his time here, he abandoned his world because he hasn't tried to go back. He's assuming it was a dead world, but never checked. Starman's suit allows him to send Clark back, and I'm curious to see how this suit's going to play into the Legion of Three Worlds story, because we're going to see, the creation of this, but then what is the real purpose of it? This is a true chance at redemption. Wow. When he comes back, we see the shift to the Alex Ross art. Really nice choice. He sees Power Girl's cape and snaps. He's too late to help her, so he thinks. On our Earth, Gog is gone, but now the team has to deal with the major problems. They were divided in a huge way. Friendships and trust were betrayed. I love Carter, but he tried in his own, like a corporate takeover here. when the team wouldn't agree with his beliefs. And I love the power on these panels because there's going to be a reckoning. We're going to have to discuss this, and we're going to have to deal with, probably in a pretty severe way, there's going to be how do we go on from here as a group? Can we, as is, or are there going to have to be some major changes? Power Girl, the team leader, was on Earth 2 during most of the split. So you can argue there was no set leader, but what happened during her absence and how the team reacted to it is going to have to be addressed by her. And that's coming.
Oh, yeah. And, that is just... I like the fact that this is the end of the story, but we're still getting more setup into the future stuff.
It's serialized.
There's still more stuff coming.
Yes.
It's not the end. It is just the beginning of the next story now. And that's something I like that. I like the little bits, like saying, leading into the next stuff.
It's a hard balance to definitively end your story, but at the same token, you can't just do that. You've got to leave you wanting more. You've got to leave you connecting for the next issue. I want a reason to read next month. This is those moments where Johns is really great at doing balance like this. You leave me with teases, leave me with more, leave me with questions, leave me thinking about next issue. I'm like, yeah. I mean, sure, saying Black Adam's going to be in the next issue, that's enough to bring me on board.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily need to do this. Because he does this is one of the reasons why he's a great writer. That's important. At the UN building, the Hall of Justice, Clark has to react to those who dropped the bomb. If you saw the lifeless bodies of all those you cared about, who wouldn't snap? This is the moment that shows the humanity of Superman. His enemies are half right about him. The love that he has for those close to him is a weakness. But they were half right because it's also his strength. And it's interesting, because that love is why he listens to those people he respects. And that's where we see him as a man and see him in his humanity and see him grow in some way. And it's interesting to see both sides of it in this particular sequence of events, though.
You get that cool line from Kingdom where the super is, outdoes the man.
Right.
You have to have a balance between the two. Even when he was telling the story about Lois, when Lois died, don't ever lose Clark.
Right.
Don't ever lose the man that's behind the symbol.
And that's where all of those moments in the specials added to Kingdom Come for me. So it's something where they've taken a story that's a classic, iconic story that really, to me, Kingdom Come's a pretty perfect story as is.
Yeah.
To add something to that that in some way makes me respect it even more, makes me enjoy it even more, fleshes it out, it expands upon it in a way that doesn't ruin it, it makes it more.
Yeah, I so pulled out my Absolute Kingdom Come and read it.
Yeah.
I just had to, just because I was such a, jazzed on it. Especially seeing this tie right back into it. You're like, oh, man, I love that. This right here saved all the continuity and all the continuity claims. Well, what's the real? No, it's still completely in continuity, exactly how it was. Because he was returned at the exact moment. I was like, yeah, all right.
It was a good way to handle it, too. David Mann's up here and is showing respect to Alan. With his military background and his history with the JSA, I love that he isn't defensive in this moment. He does voice his confusion over being Magog still, but also, there's the apologizing. There's the, sir, I know that we're going to have to deal with my actions here. He's, as a military man, he's respecting the general in this sequence of events and saying to himself, you were the leader that was right, I was wrong. Hey, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm wrong. I know we're going to have to deal with this, sir. I'm going to, bow down to your judgment at this point in time and do all that. And I liked the moment where you see a different shift in the way and the way that he's carrying himself. To me,
we see David's back, not Magog.
Right.
Now, the question I'm wondering is, what name is he going to go by going forward? Right. Is he not going to go Magog, or is he going to go Magog so that he'll never forget?
Why am I still Magog? Yeah,
he'll never forget what he did wrong as a reminder to himself, or because before he didn't really have a superhero name. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that one. That's one. The fact is, why is he still alive? But two, what is he going to call himself? What's going to be his handle?
Right. Alan and his son was a geek out moment for me too, seeing them, considering the crazy history. His son was a villain for a bit in the JSA. So it's interesting to see that interesting twist there. Norman is such a great character. You were talking about this. He gets to the root of the issue, which was why Clark sought out our Norman. Clark is mad at himself, not these people. And his being mad at them is a defensive mechanism, and I like that we got to that. We flip over to me, it's a sappy moment. I saw the Judo Master damage thing coming. I wasn't shocked. But what is the strength of that moment is we saw it coming because of how well it was teased. And you get to see that the root of the thing is Judo Master is attracted to the internal person, not the external person.
Now, that's the thing I always do wonder. Was it she sees the man inside and doesn't care about the face, or is she going up and telling him, hey, is it like I want to say sympathy kiss, but not sympathy, just telling him, hey, just because you're scarred.
I get that. My personal theory is she liked him before he was healed by Gog. She liked the man underneath it,
see,
and
I don't
she
know.
was getting to know him. Because let's be honest, who would really like the jerk that he became? I mean, really, he was. Think about it. What woman? I mean, Judo Master is going to want to. He was flirting with every woman on God's green earth as he was going along here. Was that what she was attracted to? It doesn't seem to fit Judo Master to me. It seems like she would be respecting this warrior that he is, scars and all. What is great in this moment with Norman is the conversations that Clark had with Superman, Lois, Diana being reinforced by him. He forgot himself, is what you were saying. He forgot the man behind Superman. He forgot the man, and I like that. Forgot what it was like to be human. He had a gift of always knowing what to do because he relied on the man. When you forget to rely on the man, you no longer know what to do, and that's when you make mistakes. That was Norman's message, and I really like that we see that Superman can be human. He can make mistakes, can be written well, but it's how he reacts when it's, when he's slapped in the face with that makes him such a powerful character. We saw it in the moments with Diana. Diana moments especially, I go back to it, I'm like, wow. He is standing here and taking everything to heart that she's saying to him. And I think that's why we see him here. I was geeked out when the bunch of heroes showed up alive. It was kind of a cool moment to see him there.
Yeah, it was coming, but you still enjoyed it.
Steel's come full circle. He's a better man for making the choice of denying Gog. I really like what this arc did for him as a character. This reminds me of the bits with the early Kitty Pryde with Wolverine and Colossus. She checks up on everyone. It's an important role because it adds a sense of reality. Well-written epilogue material is important in serialized storytelling. We need to see the light after they've knocked down the tunnel. And back to Clark again, the simple thank you. Clark realizing he still has his friends. He was stopped before crossing an impossible line. That coming right back was the choice, and it was the right choice to make. There is so much in those two words for him. We could go on and on. There's a lot of power in that moment where we just see him with his face down. You know that there's just a ton going through this man's head at this moment. Starman returns. The nightlight bit was funny. But I love how this loony man always brings such a positive moment. Clark's future being so good and so bright, and him knowing that. And you kind of just have that nice little...
I know, that though, and just we got the final story beyond what happens in the Kingdom Come. I was eating that up. And it was just in the simple panels. It was a couple of different panels. 10 years later, we see Clark and Diana, house load of kids. You see Uncle Bruce playing around with them.
Even before that, though, the 1 year later, Clark and Diana getting together, the glasses she gives him means so much more, seeing how important the human side was in this storyline. I love that he devoted so much time to creating the memorials. These are loved and respected allies and more. They deserve to be remembered. Diana's a really powerful character. My Wonder Woman love at the moment is at an all-time high. She seems to be a really solidly defined and fantastic character at this moment in the DC Universe. As you were saying with the 10 years later, not only are the kids cool, I'm assuming that was Crypto and Ace.
Yeah.
But also on the chair, was that the dog from Smallville?
I thought so. That's what I took it as, but I don't know. And then it was Streaky in the background.
Yeah.
It was a cat.
Bruce, who's the godfather of one of the kids, being there and holding the kid, just seeing him in those great moments. 20 years later, as we continue on, I looked for Dick Grayson first at Bruce's funeral.
Yeah.
Was that Catwoman crying in the foreground?
I took it as Catwoman crying in the foreground. I wasn't sure. Yeah, there was I couldn't tell which one was supposed to be Dick Grayson sitting or was he standing next to the casket. He was sitting. Okay.
He was the one sitting across from the casket because Superman and Wonder Woman were on the opposite side. But what I liked when I saw him there, did he have a child sitting next to him?
That's what
So it looks like Dick had a kid at this point as time has gone on. And I would love to see. We went a long time ago, and you were talking about a book with progression. Well, you were talking about all the books with progression, but then we discussed that it'd be kind of cool to see a book with that. I still want to see it now. Just watching this, little progression here, I'm like, that would be really fun to see a real-time book where we got to see that gradually. Not in flashes like this. I actually would love to see real-time progression.
And I was looking for, hidden heroes. Mm-hmm. Throughout it, I saw one who I think is Rose, a female with an eye patch, white hair.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I'm like, okay. Then I saw, of course, Ralph and Plastic Man, both kind of stretching their heads up. Mm-hmm. I saw one guy, he had a green ring. He was much too young to be Hal Jordan or anything, but he kind of had the Superman curl in his hair. I'm wondering if one of Clark's kids becomes a Green Lantern. I was like, oh, that'd be kind of neat. Half Kryptonian, half Amazon, plus a ring. I'm like, ooh, that'd be kind of cool.
Saw Dr. Fate
in
the background, too. It was really cool to see him. 100 years later. Did you read that humanity was leaving Earth because of what happens 200 years later?
Yeah, I took it that man reaches out to the stars because they're killing the planet,
right.
And we see the destruction of the planet 200 years later, probably the polar ice caps completely melting and the atmosphere in the planet shifting and all type of negative and nasty stuff going on.
So kind of a statement on global warming?
Yeah.
500 years later. Now, is that them back on Earth or on the new colony? How did you read that?
That's back. I took it back on Earth. They come back and they repair.
It's 500 years later.
Yeah, they repair the planet. They retake. I took it as the fall and then return of man on Earth. And throughout it, of course, all the time, it's Superman right there the whole time. Yeah. This is his home. This is his planet. 1,000
years later, we see the Legion. And are those Clark's descendants with the Legion, or is it him and Kara?
See, my first take was him and Kara.
Right,
when I first saw that,
too.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, Clark's Legion is Earth 22 Legion. And then I started looking more at the costume. It's not Clark's costume. Mm-hmm. There are slight changes, like, with streaks on the side, not the big red boots. He had a Legion belt buckle. So I'm like, then I told him, like, no, this is Earth 22's Legion of Superheroes.
Right.
So that's how I'm seeing them.
So it's interesting, but I mean, it's still, who was that with him? I could read it either way, either being his descendants, or it could have been him looking up and seeing his childhood friends again and seeing all that coming to life and actually being there for it and seeing it as a witness. Yeah. The sense of wonder as everyone sees this impressive-looking gathering. I just ate it up. This is what great comics are about. And like I said, 2008, just a great year of comics. This is another great example of it. JSA, though, is a series, if you, for some reason, are not reading it, it's being collected in hardcover. I wouldn't hesitate. All of it's collected in hardcover, because the issues that aren't collected in a JSA hardcover are collected in the Lightning Saga hardcover. So every issue of this series has been collected so far in hardcover form.
Oh, nice.
So you can go back and how do you think I know that?
Because you have them.
Yeah. But it's really a great series, and so if you haven't picked it up, and they are going back just so people, if they're like, well, gee, guys, we can't do the hardcovers. You don't have to. If you've never read this series, it's being collected now in trades. So they're going through all the hardcover volumes that have been released are being collected in trades as well, so you can get it in more of a cheaper form as well. And trades are nice because then again, you can get like at a bargain price some of those issues. Good stuff. Great story.
Can Batman escape? One hint, the worst is yet to come.
And our next review will be JLA number 27. The writer is Dwayne McDuffie, pencils by Ed Benes, inker Ed Benes, Rob Hunter, Norm Rapman, Drew Geraci, colors by Pete Pantazis, letterer Rob Lay, cover by, again, Ed Benes with Hi-Fi, and associate editor Adam Schlagman, and editor Eddie Berganza.
I like this sightings labeling. They try to pick where it's, the concept is it's a book that is going to be a book to watch for fundamental changes in the DC universe. Like in this case, it's the milestone characters coming into the DC universe and being considered, that Dakota being considered part of the DC universe. And I was looking forward to this issue. This is a book that we haven't really talked about much since Lightning Saga. And actually, the last issue I think we really heavily delved into was the sightings issue that was a lead-in to Final Crisis.
Yeah.
So, but I really enjoyed JLA, so it's another team book. I'm glad that we're spotlighting in these two episodes JSA and JLA, because I think this is a great book. I'm really enjoying what Dwayne McDuffie's doing on this one. I don't know that we don't give it enough lip service.
Here's something I did with this whole sighting, with the whole, this one and the next issue, as well as coming up the third one. I didn't do any research on the milestone characters. I didn't know who they were or anything like that. And I when I first started, I'm like, hey, I'm going to do some... I stopped myself. I'm like, I want to see if I know nothing about these guys, if I can read these issues and enjoy them. If I needed to have the background, if I did. And I'll tell you something, I'm going to tell you right now, I love these things. And I think I got a pretty good grasp of who these people are, who the characters are within just these two issues that I've read of them.
Well, these characters are McDuffie's babies.
Oh,
he was heavily involved. I mean, that milestone's his.
See, I
So,
no
I mean, that
idea.
was-
I don't know anything
Right.
of the background at all of Milestone
So it makes sense. I mean, this is the writer that you would want,
doing this type of stuff. So
right?
cool.
Because these are his characters.
Well-
So it's like the perfect marriage of bringing these characters right into the DC universe.
I know, and we're looking at just the cover there. You have Superman and Icon just locking hands, looking there. You got the team behind it getting ready to throw down. And this issue, for me, was a huge build-up. But it wasn't just a build-up issue where sometimes when you say an issue is a build-up, you think, oh, okay, they're just setting up for something more. No, there was still plenty of action, plenty of really super cool hoorah moments in this, but you have this build-up for something more to come. You know there's something going to happen, and we see that in 28. We see some really neat stuff. But this issue, I love, it's just nice flow through, nice beginning, and a nice laying of the groundwork for all the pieces we need.
And also, you know what I like about this? We're clearly seeing that they're looking beyond Crisis, because we've got a team right now that is going to be profoundly affected by the fact that the big three, the Trinity, are not going to be around. So JLA is going to have some potential heavy hitters in place to replace the big three. So we're seeing, a cast of potential team members coming out in this particular story arc, not just in the Milestone characters, but also the female Dr. Light.
Yeah, and I liked her usage. I was kind of surprised and shocked and enjoyed it. The fact that we're getting so much of the female Dr. Light. She's popping up in different spots, and once again, another character I really knew nothing about. But I got a very quick picture of her personality, if you will, because you see her just going off on people. She's yelling at them in Japanese, and they don't understand it because they don't speak Japanese. But even after, they're like, she doesn't apologize. She doesn't back down. She's not what I would call a people person, but it's mostly because she's a little bit miffed at who she is and what's going on with her. She had all these cool powers. She had the power of light, which is just this amazing. Got to be. We talked about when we did the Uncle Sam stuff, where the Ray was explaining just how neat it is to become living light and living power, and she had all this godlike stuff that just had to just make her and then she loses it all. Then she gets it back. Then she loses it again, and she's up and low, up and down.
But used to be a part of the Justice League too.
Yeah,
and where her internal dialogue works, you got to see why. Okay, I'd be bitter too. We talked about how in some ways it'd be great to be a hero, other ways it wouldn't. Here's a major problem. You get that. You have these cool powers. You are part of the premier team. You're rubbing elbows with the best of the best, and then it's taken from you. What do you do then? How would your life be changed to not have that? Imagine being able to fly and not being able to fly.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
something as simple as that. And we say simple, but in a superhero universe, flight is something simple. Now she's taking the subway.
Right.
She went from being dun-da-da to riding next to some schlaba, I don't want to call him a schlaba. I don't know the guy. Maybe he's a really nice guy. Maybe he's, a professional just slumming it for a day. But
I love that you're reacting to him like he's listening.
You know what? I'm expecting the backlash. I know. Come on, Jim. What are you doing? You don't know the guy. He's a nice guy. I'm just waiting on that. So I'm covering myself. I'm doing that
if you're talking about somebody who's real. This character isn't real.
It's still real to me, dang it.
This guy is like he's like a background. He's not even a red shirt.
He's a white shirt. He's wearing a nice white shirt.
He is a white shirt.
But I do like this.
I like that the white shirt's a generic character.
Yeah.
But then we get to see her powers stolen from her, and I mean that's that feeling of violation, that theft, to be like having memories stolen or having some fundamental essence of yourself stolen from you, like what Oracle went through to a certain extent. I mean, I don't know if that's even fair considering that she was put into a wheelchair afterwards, but I mean, you've lost, in her case, she lost a fundamental part of herself. Dr. Light lost a fundamental part of herself. Obviously, if you're going to take preference out of the two, you want to go the Dr. Light route. But I mean, it still is losing a piece of your identity. Now, truly strong people like Dr. Light start to form a new identity, but you still long for the old one. We see Oracle, to a certain extent, still longs for her old identity. So it's interesting, to be for those moments. Her best moments with Dick Grayson, Oracle, for example, were, I remember the first date. Dick got her up on the trapeze and, tried to give her back some of what she lost.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how, you can get creative and clever in those moments and try to give people back what they're missing. I really ate this up and connected a lot with what's good about the DC universe in general with this particular sequence.
Yeah, and I also dig just as they're going into her, it does give us more background on her, lets us be a little bit more sympathetic to what she's going through, and we do see she makes some good decisions. Her powers are sketchy, so she's like, hey, I can't be a hero. I'm too much of a liability. She's working for the one big company, and they're kind of like not doing things above board. She's like, hey, I got to get out of this, and she moves on. So she does. There's still some of that hero in her. There's still some of the good person here, but just. I tell you, this was a build-up story, but great segues. She's walking on the street. She's a little bit down. She's not thinking too clearly. She opens the door to her house, and boom, there are all these costume people and, the milestone characters. We had Iron Butterfly, Gloria Mundi, Payback, Starlight, Hardware, Donner and Blitzen, Iota, and Twilight. Colorful costumes, we got metas, immediately what she's got to deal with, and she's like, oh man,
Another thing, outwardly, the way that the female Dr. Light's been portrayed lately, she's a B. There's no two ways about it. But where it was really important is if you're going to return this character to being a sympathetic character that you want to rally behind, you need those moments where you need to understand that what we see on the surface is not necessarily all that there is to her. She is a three-dimensional character. There's things going on that make her likable, that make her a character you want to understand and you want to follow. This was an important moment for McDuffie to do that in the beginning, prior to her arriving at her apartment and meeting these characters. I really liked the pacing of this and the way that we got kind of introduced to her, to the expanded Dr. Light, to the one that you want to get to know and that you want to follow, because it was clear to me like we're going to be seeing a lot more Dr. Light, and I want to know why I care. At least I'm assuming you're assuming Dr. Light's on the team, right?
I'm assuming Dr. Light's on the team, or within the next couple story arcs, there's going to be a big point behind her. Now, here's something else I do want to comment before we continue on. Mm-hmm. I don't know whose decision it was to do this, whether it was writer, editorial, letterer, or however, but every time we see these milestone characters, their name is a little flash right there just to remind you who they are. And I have to say how much I love that. I was like, yes, that is just a cool little thing, and especially later on in the next issue, this is something that continues on throughout their being part of it. It's not every single time they're up. It's usually the first time the character appears in that book. It's a little flash of their name, just a reminder who they are. And I was like,
people who
it's just a nice. It's kind of like the editor notes. Now,
because of the fact that they've been seen in the Milestone line, but they're introducing them to a new audience.
Right.
Because I read them very casually back at the time. I didn't have when the Milestone comics were out, I didn't have the kind of budget, so it was one of those things where I would try out an issue here or there. I liked very much what I read, but I just didn't have enough to, at that time, invest in a whole line. And that was all. It's funny for me, like when those were out, I'm like, that was a deterrent for me. Like I couldn't read one book.
Yeah, you had to do the whole line.
I
didn't have
want
the money
to get
for
into
it.
the whole line.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a deterrent to me at the time. I would love to see the previous stuff collected, because I'd love to read it, because I've heard good things.
Yeah.
About Shadow Cabinet, and I've read issues of the line. I just haven't read enough of it that I'm anywhere near any form of expert on the line. What I've read, I really liked. Mm-hmm. So it was a hard decision not to continue to follow it. I just couldn't.
Yeah, this leads to a very interesting sequence where we see Hawkgirl spending some time with a certain winged member of the JSA. And when I first started seeing this, I'm like, what the heck is going on? And we learned that it's a dream sequence. But
I think it's my dream sequence.
You know what? Because
for a second there, when I read that page, I'm like, wait a minute, am I dreaming this, or is she?
And tell me, I laughed out loud, because just as she says, "Oh, Carter," is where she wakes up. But not only her, Roy wakes up, who is right next to her, and he is not a happy camper. Now, my 2 cents on this whole deal is, very simple. What's more important to you? Someone calling out someone else's name while they are with you, or them calling out your name while they're with that other person. I say, Roy, just relax, take a deep breath. It was just a dream, and relax, dude. Come on.
It is interesting, though, that because they've had some reasons to have insecurities.
Yeah.
What's been going on Roy's end with Cheshire and, his daughter and all that, and how, that becomes an issue, has been hard for Kendra. And in this case now, it's another, it's put some rift between them. Now this has put a rift between them. It's interesting to see how this couple's going to go. I'm a fan of this couple.
Yeah, I am big time too. And that's, partially why I don't want to see, and it's just sometimes, I just want to smack Roy. And this is one of those times where if I was his buddy, I was his pal, I'd give him a rap upside the back of the head and say, dude, it was just a dream.
But it's a very
check your ego.
Roy. This is Roy.
Yeah.
And it's a very well-written Roy.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm saying your reaction, your honest reaction to it, it's Roy.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love that you're getting that reaction because to me, I'm like, yes, mission accomplished. Great sequence of events that really gives you a flavor for who Roy is and what some of the issues are there. Now, what'll be interesting to see is if this couple is strong enough to overcome who these people are.
Yeah, I hope so.
I do too.
Because I really, call me a silly or hopeless romantic, but I do want to see these two kids together, and I know that she's Hawk Girl and, Hawkman and all that whole connection. And
27 issues in, I agree with you.
Okay.
This has been a great relationship development.
Yeah.
I kid around on that whole bit. I mean, I loved the whole dream and how there was a connection because she and Carter had a very deep connection on various levels, where even when Kendra was separated, she had to deal with the fact that she has feelings for this man. So, and I like at this point that it feels very real that she would have those dreams, but also, for me, this relationship between her and Roy has, I think, been one of the major strengths of this book since the beginning, and I do want to see it continue for that reason. I think it's a very good, strong relationship.
Yeah, and I do got to just comment on just how cool the artwork has been in these different. It's very, very sexy, very sensual artwork, but it wasn't over the top. It wasn't anything that you could feel comfortable putting in the kids' hands. It told the story. You know exactly what's going on, but you didn't go over the edge. And
Bennis has learned to rein in the sexy.
Yeah.
In his early work, if you took a look at it, it was. I mean, that's a hard thing. I mean, I'm not an artist by any stretch, but I will say in his earlier work there was a lot more over the top sexy, if that makes sense. He's learned to really balance it out. There's nothing wrong with sexy. I like sexy in comics. Nothing wrong with that at all. But he's done a good job of learning how to balance that out and to miss that. Keep the characters feeling real, if that makes sense. Because it's a hard thing to do. It used to be really over the top, though. Yeah. This is nice. It's sharp arc. I agree with you. I'm not contradicting you in any way, shape, or form. I'm just kind of adding on to it that it's really nice to see how much his artwork has grown.
And just also while we're continuing, just shout outs on just the artwork, with the inking and the coloring on this. Because this is a darkened room. So you have heavy shadows, but you do have the one focus of light. So you have this boom light that's casting out the shadows. Even as Roy's leaving the room, he's walking into the open, door. So there's the bright light he's walking into. I really just was one of those things where I liked the inker's work here, and this is a colorist work here. I was like, wow, this is some cool stuff going on here. Not just, this was a good art team. This was a really nice gelling. And I love the segue, from this dark kind of very, oh no, what's going to happen thing to a very upbeat, light, and wonderful thing going on between fun between Buddy and Vixen. They're basically just testing their powers. Everything's going cool and funky, but they're having fun while doing it. Shifting between the different animals. Oh, I start off as a flea, switch to an eagle. Oh, I'm using this, alien thing that can jump, and they're just bebopping back and forth, having a ball.
Reminds me of my favorite moments in the Danger Room in the X-Men. Yeah. And I think it's important that a team would have a simulation room like this. I think it's a great use of it. There's moments where you need in comics. Not everything has to be so dark and doggone dreary. It's nice. Let's have a little fun. Why do these people band together? What do they bring to each other? And I mean, the opportunity for her to run with Animal Man with what they had been through. This is epilogue material on that. It's good epilogue material. It's really good moments where, we need to see Vixen having some fun with her powers and kind of reconnecting with herself again. Why wouldn't she do this? She had been tapping into all the other heroes' powers for so long. She needs to reconnect with who she is now. Love that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Big time. And, of course, you do see a little bit of, Dinah, Dinah shows up, and it's setting up for some great sequencing, that's about to happen when she's like, hey, Vixen, you're back on the team. All, is good to go. Buddy, what about you? Now I got to move. And it's just these, as you said, it's an epilogue stuff.
And I want to talk about this. Rann Thanagar, I wish I had done this in Speeding Bullets. We'll have to talk about it. the last issue of Rann Thanagar, and during the ending of the Rann Thanagar battle, Buddy has to confront the fact that he really, doesn't want to do this full time. He wants to go back to his family. Corey addresses this with him in that particular book. To see him here again, it's a nice consistency with what we're seeing from Buddy where he's appearing right now. And that Rann Thanagar, the last 2 issues of that were brilliant. Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't talk about it in Speeding Bullets. So that's one of those books. I'm glad the way that it ended with Sinar and everything. But to see it here, and I want to talk about Dinah too. Dinah Lance in this book is just to me, or Dinah Queen, or whatever her name is at this point. She probably.
My guess is she still is Lance, not Queen.
Right.
Just because I don't see her changing her name. And,
I don't either.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me one way or another. The important thing is Dinah right here is showing how much she's grown as a character, how much she's been. I love her as leader of the JLA. I hope that stays. Continues.
Oh, that's staying big time.
Yeah, because that to me is
she's
really
the leader,
important.
and she's the locked in, and it's especially stuff that's going to be coming down in a future pipeline for the JLA. They're going to need her. They're going to need a strong character that she is, in this position. So yeah.
But I love the whole feeling that you never really leave the JLA. It was kind of like the whole. It was a nice little twist that nobody ever really leaves the X-Men. I remember. It really was connecting with me very much to the family aspect of this team. And the connection that goes right there. They're a different sort of team than the Justice Society. I really like that, but I do like that this group feels more close-knit. These people feel like they have history together. I like the way Dwayne McDuffie is writing them. They feel like real people. Sometimes these DC icons, people forget that we want to feel like we can talk to them. I've liked the shift in the past few years of making them feel accessible, making them feel real. The best writers throughout the history of these characters have understood that. And these are the moments that I think you get to see little bits of that.
We get to see the humanity behind these mega powerful beings. Yeah, it's, and that's why I said this is kind of a build-up, but there's so much cool stuff going on. And as we leave there, we go back to Dr. Light. And the thing I loved the most about the sequencing, what's her first comment? Her first concern is the safety of her children. Where are my children? That's a true mother's reaction that any parent, and not even saying mother, father would have the same thing. We see that with Wally all the time with the kids, where that's their first concern. The first and foremost, hey, what's going on here? Not, okay, time for me to go into hero mode and beat up all these people. No. What about my children? What the heck's going on here? And
the whole bits with Donner and Blitzen. Donner's trying to calm down Dr. Light. You got Blitzen who's like antagonizing the situation, and I really got the impression that Blitzen was having a good time antagonizing the situation. Yeah. Nice work, Blitzen. You scared her. Some people find my honesty refreshing as she's talking about, I might, hurt the kids, because kids irk me.
And I laughed out loud with that whole thing where, we never heard, I might, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, lady after my own heart, all right. But one of the things about this issue, especially next one, the banter that they're doing. Just this little witty repartee between either amongst the team or when we get to the fight sequences, the smack talking back and forth. It was just such a cool, fun moment. And that was the first indicator for me that these aren't villains. Maybe I kind of was looking at them saying, okay, these are kind of the middle of the ground gray area type heroes, because usually the witty banter and the fun, commentary, like that type of stuff is reserved for superheroes. It's not something the villains typically do. So either these are non-traditional villains, which is a cool thing, or these are heroes who for some reason are kind of doing this. And that made this whole thing really curious about, especially because I'm thinking, okay, now maybe these are combinations. Maybe that Blitzen's a villain and Donner's the hero, but they're working together on this team. Or maybe, and it was just like, there's so many different possibilities that we're going through just from this opening salvo.
And you take a look at Blitzen's very much so the Rose archetype, from Teen Titans.
Yeah.
The one that really deep down is trying to do the right thing, but... And I like those. It's really some cool moments. I love the minute, though, that while this is all going on, we've got Hardware coming up with a way to help handle the situation. Because Dr. Light wouldn't just take what they're saying on faith. She has to check it out. She's a concerned parent. She can't. Where are my kids? Why aren't they visible? Where are they at? So, and I like that she couldn't take that chance. It read like a true parent to me.
Yeah, I know.
But they eventually freeze her in place.
And they freeze her in this ultra cool atoms, and they stop her, and like, oh, okay. And I like how they were looking at what she was doing. She wasn't trying to get away. No, she was looking for her kids. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then as they're, just kind of like studying the situation, and they're getting a little bit closer, they realize she wasn't just looking for her kids. No, she got her old Justice League communicator, and she hit that. And they're all just
Justice League International with the same logo that it had back when she was on the team.
Yeah, and I love that because they're all just like, crud, just because they know what just happened. The signal has gone out.
We learned the team powers, though, throughout this sequence without it being really broadcasted to us. That Blitzen's the speedster, Donner's the powerhouse. We saw what Hardware can do and bring to the team. It was a nice, interesting introduction of these characters where we got to learn a little bit about the Shadow Cabinet through their interactions with Dr. Light.
Yeah, just a little taste, but enough that I got a good enough idea of some of these characters. And that was, to me, it was just such a, cool moment, And plus, as I said, just more witty banter between the team, about how, can the communicator get out of those cool atoms? We don't know. We'd have to do an experiment. Well, I think we're in an experiment now, aren't we? And just banter back and forth. They're like, oh, okay, guess what, guys? We got a problem. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Kind of a hero thing. Once again, I was just like, these are characters for me on the gray. Because they're in JLA as the villain. So are they actual true villains? Which is something I really enjoyed getting out of this because my gut was telling me no, they're not true villains, even though they're going up against the JLA.
But it looks like they had some issues at some point in time because it's sitting here saying, she's talking about, sometimes I miss the old days when we mostly just killed people and then ran away fast, which obviously seems to be something that changed. There's along the way. So what motivated them to go in a different direction? Yeah. Were they villains at that point in time, or was it just the harshness of their world? I don't know. It's interesting to get to know a little bit more. Again, my honesty should be considered refreshing. I liked the humor moments with this team. You still felt that they were powerhouses, but they were also well aware that the JLA is going to be there at any moment.
Now, this leads to some of the coolest stuff going on, for me, just like character development, JLA development, team development. They're going back to the Star Chamber. It's the Trinity. They're having you're jumping in the middle of a conversation between three old friends about who is faster. And I love this discussion because this is an old debate that's gone on, and we kind of have our answer where Diana's saying she is faster than Clark, and Clark's like, whoa, hold on, I got some super speed here, and she's like, yeah, you got raw speed, but you have to think before you respond. I am a trained warrior. She's got that muscle memory. She knows what to do. She just acts and reacts to it. I was just like, yes, that is, that right there is a great explanation. What is super speed? If I was in a fight, Diana could take it. And I like the fact that he turns to Bruce, the logic, Soup turns to Bruce, the logic one of the group, and he's like, you don't want my answer, dude.
But I like that he even brings in Usain Bolt or Bruce Lee.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a great description right there. If I was a foot race, you'd go with Usain Bolt. But if you're looking for, a little bit of action, looking for someone to throw down, I'm going Bruce Lee, man.
Now, here's an interesting part. Their conversation stops quickly when they realize there's been an intruder.
Yeah. Well, an intruder into their little private clubhouse, and, oh, look, it's Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, the greatest superheroes ever. I am honored to be in the very room as you, as, Black Canary, leader of the JLA.
But I love that the first segment we saw her grabbing the chair that she's bringing in with her right now.
Right.
This is more chairwoman business. And I like that she is insulted by this chamber.
Oh, yeah.
And she has, I agree with her calling them out on this.
Yeah, and I like the fact that she kind of figured this out on her own. It wasn't anything, she had to get the semantics, everything from Steel, but still, she figured out their communicators go offline at the same time. There's something going on, there's a little mystery, and so she did a little investigating on her own and discovered this. And not only that, discovered what they're doing here. They don't think she can really do the job, so they're just going to run things from the sidelines, from the background, have their little private meetings, and you know what? She's the leader of the JLA. This is her job. This is what she does. She can't have them undermining her authority like that. And she calls them out. Even when Diana tries to play the politician, she's like, no. She doesn't let them get off and get away with it. She's like, a hard line. Even Bruce starts to do a little bit of mind games, and she cuts him to the quick and says, no, I'm not going to let you pull your little mind games here. You're going to stand up and you're going to be accountable for what you did.
And also, I love the fact that she goes back to saying, who died and elected the three of you running all of us? Kind of keep in mind that when you were running the show, Batman created the Omax, Diana killed Max Lord, and you just let it happen. It was, right to the cut to the quick, saying that you guys aren't as perfect as you're pretending here. You've made mistakes too. And I do like that she's respectful of who they are and what they bring to the team, and, the fact that they are. She's not saying that they aren't good leaders, but she's trying to say, I'm human. You're human. We all make mistakes here. We are on a level playing field here, folks. Either I'm running the team or I'm not. And it was just a great, powerful moment here.
But for me, one of the best parts about this was she did it in private. Mm-hmm. She didn't undermine anyone's opinion of the Trinity. Mm-hmm. It's always the praise in public.
You handle the situation in private to respect any person. Any good leader knows how to do that. Good managers of any company, they know to pull somebody aside and do it in private when you reprimand them. Don't make anyone lose face in front of their coworkers or their, in this case, their teammates. Good military leaders know how to do this as well.
And especially in this team, you think about it. This is the Trinity. Mm-hmm. This is the big three guns. If you're going there undermining them, that's going to hurt you in the field. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
You're also going to divide people's sensibilities because they're going to side with, some of them are going to side with the Trinity and side against you. Your leadership becomes undermined. So it's definitely a good political move on her part. Shows her strength of character. I really liked that. It really was. It was showing them the respect and courtesy. But I love that she figured it out by going to somebody who would be associated with them, and Dr. John Henry Irons, who could have created something where they could have gone there. Let's go to somebody who has the power to do that type of thing.
And someone who they would trust to do with it. And
who she knew was behind part of the building of the place where they're at.
Now, their discussion, though, is kind of cut short by the distress signal from Dr. Light. And once again, it was just like, boom. Yeah, we had this thing. We're done. We're moving on now. And to be honest, I don't think we'll really see too much ramifications or too much from this, in that we're not going to see her giving them further chutzpah.
No, you know why this was done? Because of Final Crisis.
Right.
We need to, at this point in time, really establish that Black Canary can take this team without the big three. So this is a very brilliant move in the sense that for readers of JLA right now, we need to have confidence that she can take over this team and make it effective at this moment. This is being established right now in this drama right now with these characters. The big three are going to be out of JLA for an unforeseen amount of time. So, as readers, we want to have confidence that this team is just as powerful without them as it was with them. Yeah. It's a good writing move by McDuffie to do that. We've shown the growth. This is 27 issues in. We've shown the growth of this team, the growth of this character, and I do like that she called him out on this. I also I agree with you, I don't think we're going to see anything further from this because she said her piece at this point, and she didn't reveal to Jon Stewart
why she wanted the information or what she was
where
doing.
She was at.
Yeah,
because she says right here, where are you? You're not showing up on the GPS. You said there was an emergency. She dropped the conversation right there. I have no doubt it's not going to come up again.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if she's going to use the Star Chamber in the future. Going forward, if we're going to have her dealings with it, or maybe her using it some way or whatnot. I don't know. I hope it's not, because I like the fact that this whole little alternate bubble of time and all that type of stuff that is the Star Chamber. I like that. I think that's kind of cool.
I do like that Bruce is kind of taking Firestorm under his wing.
Yeah.
We've seen this before when the two of them met, and I'm glad to see that kind of continuity of continuation between the two of them, where he's saying, don't half-ass it, read up on this stuff, you need to know, get your files straight and facts straight. I like, again, these are moments where there's a passing of, I don't want to say a passing of the torch, but we're going to see, I think, a little bit more out of Firestorm without Bruce there, where he's going to be pulling in some of the things he's learned from Bruce. I really like what McDuffie's doing here. He's preparing for what's coming down the line. He, as a writer, knows, hey, they're taking these guys from me right now, so let me do what I can right now to establish echoes of these characters, we're going to still feel Batman's presence through things that Firestorm says. Because we're establishing right now the role of these characters.
But also kind of cool with Zatanna throughout this, because she's like, hey, Firestorm, don't worry about it. If he didn't give you grief, he only gives you grief because he knows you can handle it. And it's kind of like her personal insights.
Well, he tells him if he didn't think you were good, he wouldn't waste the time telling you. I love that line. It was just such a oof. And her relationship with Bruce that's been established in the Dini run fits for this. This is the kind of thing where you see, it doesn't have to exactly reference what Dini did, but you can see that relationship is there in this moment.
Yeah,
it's a nice little nod for fans.
And just how funny, though, is it that negative attention is a good thing from Batman. Just ask, Dick and Tim and even Jason, for that matter. Now, as we get some more cool Batman moments and just some cool more team dynamics, we have just a small portion of the team. Firestorm, Black Lightning, Z, and Batman. They're responding to the distress beacon. And they're showing up, and everything looks fine at the, at the Dr. Light's household. They got the babysitter with the kids, and everything's yada yada. Everything's cool, calm, and they get this holographic image from Dr. Light saying,
"Wait, hang on, there's an important little twist that he puts in here, though. And this is something with the way that the Milestone characters are being put into the DC universe. When they first meet the babysitter, I love the bit with Black Lightning and Static, considering how their powers are, of a similar family relationship. Yeah. He says, "Hey, Black Lightning, right? Are you Static's father?" "No, why does everyone keep asking me that?" Establishing that Static's been around a little bit longer than we've seen.
Right.
That these characters do exist within the confines of the DC universe to a certain extent. I just thought it was a good move at this point because we know we're going to be seeing Static. We actually saw Static in the end of pages of Terror Titans. We're going to be seeing more of Static in the final issue of Terror Titans. It's one of those things where this character is now part of the DC universe. Just neat little... I thought it was a cool little moment.
Oh, yeah, and I agree, yeah. A little... As I said, throughout all these issues, there's just this little chuckle moments, kind of banter back and forth, and that's just another one little thing there. But I liked how just, when they show the hologram of Dr. Light, she's all calm and everything's fine, don't worry about it, must have just been a short, I'm on a conference over here and all that. But the team knows not only that that's not Dr. Light, they know something's going wrong. And one of the main reasons why is because she was too polite. Dr. Light's kind of a little, and the exact same thing you said, they know she's this type of person. So guess what? We know you're lying. It's time to go. And we see the powers come back. We see Payback and Twilight appear, and you're like, okay.
Well, and it's his girlfriend, and we see just a little bit. Again, we're learning little bits about the Shadow Cabinet as we go along. Their interpersonal relationships in the team. There's something more there. It's very well developed.
Now, the other thing I digged is the cool, as we said, team dynamics, but also usage of diversion. That whole thing at Dr. Light, that's not their goal. Dr. Light technically really isn't their goal. They have another goal outside there. And we see the team in the Fortress of Solitude, not in the Hall of Justice. They kind of came in with this tour group. They're using, they're in the gift shop looking at the different stuff. The one's going to, pocket some stuff because she's a klepto. But these characters are just, I don't want to say they're regular people, but they are. They have their regular faults. We're seeing this personality flesh out of them. And again, these were just more indications to me that these aren't just villains. There's something more to these characters. There's something else out there. Yeah, granted, the one stealing a Flash snow globe, but it's still, the characters are who they are. So I kind of dig that. I thought that was nice.
Like your kleptomania problem. You call it a problem, darling. I call it my passion in life.
Yeah.
So it is. They aren't as clean and cookie cutter. I like that. It adds a little something to these characters. I want to see more Shadow Cabinet.
Yeah, I kind of like to see these guys, especially the next issue really got me into them. I was like, okay, there's some cool stuff going on here. Now, this is another thing I was like, okay, what are they actually doing? How are they breaking into it? And we see a little bit more powers, with some holographic imaging and Iota being able to shrink down to size and shrink up. And she's a size changer. So you're like, okay, we're getting more glimpses of the powers, of who they are and where they come from. And it's funny because I started trying to put people in different categories of heroes I know, like Hardware. I'm thinking maybe kind of like an Iron Man type thing, a Cyborg maybe, or something like that. There's something going on with. There's more to him than just cool weaponry. There's like a fusion with it. There's like a knowledge with it. And as I understand them.
Yeah, I love that she sees the teleporter.
Yeah.
And she wants to steal it.
Yeah.
Because it's so cool.
Yeah.
To teleport out into space. She's like, well, and then Hardware doesn't even try to start. He goes, well, maybe on the way out, we need it now. You're right. We learn more about these characters along the way, and they're fun and interesting because of that. I guess that, to me, is a much better way to handle character development like this when you're dealing with so many. I'm amazed, though, in the first issue here of this arc, Jim, how much depth we got to these characters throughout the storytelling itself. And then even the question, how does Dharma know so much about the Hall of Justice and the satellite and how all that works?
Yeah, and like I found it's best not to question him. I really want to know who this Dharma is. If it's a him or a her, for all we know, I don't know. But so the team's basically breaking in to steal the remains of Dr. Light, the candle that the Spectre turned him into. And once again, I was like, wow, what do they want with this? But just as they're getting ready to leave, just as they're getting ready to depart, the team wasn't completely diversion. Boom. In comes the JLA, really cool, butt-kicking pose. They're all set. We got Roy, Arrow, Arch, Hawkgirl, Mace is ready, Lanterns locked and loaded, and you see, of course, Soup just standing there going, okay, it's time.
Line, though, bleep me. Yeah, we're pretty much so going to. Which, Wally was the perfect character to have throw out that line. Yeah. It fits vintage Wally.
Now, this was another thing where we see more of the power set. Because they're sitting there, they got them completely outnumbers. There's almost the full team against the two of them, but Iota's not done yet. She's not just a shrinker. She was able to shrink other people. So next thing you know, boom, rest the shadow cabinets right there. And we get this cool ending with, my name is Icon. My associates are the shadow cabinet. I was just like, ooh, okay, this is something neat. And you could tell just by looking at the guy.
Even his ending. Some of you know me. All of you should accept me at my word. Allow us to pass, or I cannot guarantee your safety. That's a really powerful intimidation moment. It's one team versus the other. And his attitude there, and it's really the sense of strength that he's showing right there is, this is one moment to end this peacefully with us leaving. Either take it or suffer the consequences. Very cool intimidation moment. Very bad intimidation moment when you're in front of the JLA. You're trying to, at that point in time, get them to back down, and you just know they're not going to.
No, and I like the fact that, when Icon appeared, it gave Clark even pause. Clark is the big man. He's the big guns. And if you have enough power that you can make Clark just kind of pause a little bit, that for me just said, volumes and volumes.
Well, it also is foreshadowing that Clark knows him, though.
Yeah.
Because we do find out later that, and it adds some more weight to what happens in issue 28 with the two of them, that he's a little bit more understanding of this character.
Yeah, and I kind of want to see that meeting. How does Clark know Icon? How do they meet? Was it a crossover story? What happened? Has it already been told? Has it not been told? What's the deal? Anybody knows this stuff? Please, please, please send this in because that's an issue I want to see.
I want to say that has been told.
Okay,
I'll look it up for you.
If it has been, let me know. I'd appreciate it. Send even.
I didn't read it, but I want to say that I thought they did have a crossover of sorts. I might be wrong.
I don't know. Now, with issue 28, we do have a change in penciler and inker. And I tell you, I really didn't notice the change until I was doing my notes and I was making sure we had the same creative team. And that is just a cool compliment to not only the art team for being able to flow so nicely, but editorial for picking the new penciler and inker. Jose Luis, by the way, and J.P. Mayer did the inks for this. So really cool on the editorial team, or I don't know who makes those decisions, but you're able to get a nice flow.
It's the editorial team.
Okay, yeah. So that is just a really neat thing that I didn't notice this until I did my notes. So it was just a great flow through. Talk about not, being jarring for you if it goes from one to the other. And when I held them next to each other, I could notice differences, but that was only because I was looking for it. When I was just initially reading it, having fun with it, didn't even dawn on me, didn't even catch any of that. So I was like, yeah, this is kind of neat.
We pick similar styles.
Yeah, I know, and that's just a good job on their part. I don't know if this is the regular team sticking around or what's going on there, but I like the look of this. This was kind of nice.
I like that during the battle. I like the continuity of what happened in the previous issue with Firestorm and Batman coming back here. You mean you don't have a file on them? I forgot to read. No, we may have to beat some of the information out of them. I liked that moment. It was just a really cool, it didn't take anything or diminish anything from Batman, but it shows that the guy can do one-on-one banter and jokes with people and make it work and still sound intimidating.
And I liked seeing the Batman and the JLA get a little bit of smack around. It makes for a better story when your heroes don't just steamroll everybody they have. We saw Batman go down from Payback. We're seeing them throwing, trying different stuff and them using it. The villains are improvising and adapting to what they're going up against. You think of
Bruce going down because of the lack of information.
Right.
He didn't know who he was dealing with.
Now, here's the other thing when I'm reading this, because we get some cool dynamics of, Firestorm jumping in, Black Lightning doing his thing, but where's Zatanna? I'm wondering where she is, what she's going to do, because I know there's going to be some usage of her. We saw a little blip of her in this issue. I'm thinking the next issue is going to be all Z throwing down or figuring out how to stop these guys. Maybe she's doing the recon. Maybe she's looking for the kids. Maybe she's looking for Dr. Light. We're going to see some more from her, and we're going to see some further buildup of the team.
What I really liked here with this moment with Payback and Black Lightning, Payback's in his cage. And you get to see these moments where, Payback's like, let me out. You can try to beat it out of me. Black Lightning's great. Alternatively, we keep you in there and just turn up the juice until you start talking. Again, we see the relationship with Starlight. Starlight lashes out the way Payback did when she was being hurt. You see that these two really do care for each other. She doesn't understand that realistically right now, Black Lightning wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he wouldn't have fried him, but she doesn't know the guy.
Right.
Or I don't know, maybe she does. She's just reacting to emotional reaction. I'm not sure, but once again, that was just a cool moment. And
he refers to the con being blown, which is the first indication that all is not what it seems.
Well, I took the con he was saying as the fact that they're there for Dr. Light or something. I just like
right, but that we don't. But you remember, they aren't being forthcoming. There's more to their reasons for being there. They're stealing his remains, but for a purpose, a definitive purpose that they aren't revealing. So there is a con going on there in the sense that there's something more to this. There's a whole other level to this whole thing.
Now, the one thing I did chuckle was
they're coming off as the villains when they really are the heroes.
Right. Well, yeah, they're a quasi-hero. I don't know what their whole story is.
If you take a look, remember we had that established with Icon and Superman. That they really are trying to do something heroic. Yeah. So that is the con in the sense that they're just not revealing it to the JLA. Right. And then there's another con going on with Icon and Superman where they're really conning everybody, which is interesting.
Now, I had to chuckle with Firestorm because he's trying to help out. He creates this big, huge ball and chain, hooks it to Payback, figuring out it'll slow him down. Oh, no. He just picks up, starts spinning it, and you're going to use it as a weapon against them. I was like, oh, dude, man. Kind of tough break there, The
good news is the rest of the team has to be having a better day than we are, which isn't true at all because we flash right to them and we see the double-page spread of the face-off continuing from last issue. Yeah. And you're right. The art choice, if you're trying to go for consistency, was a really good art choice because it does feel very similar to the Bendis art style. So
And I tell you, as I'm reading it, as soon as they had that line, like at least the rest of the team is doing better. First thing that popped in my head was, "Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice," and you see this cool face-off. Nice, page spread. The two teams standing there. It was. It reminded me of those face-offs for boxing matches where they're just getting lined up. They're eyeballing each other. They're sizing up their competition. But it's not only that. You see some cool stuff with Icon. And I was like, man, with a name like Icon, you better be able to throw down. And this dude is tough. But plus, you see not only just his presence, he's standing up to Superman. He's still being respectful, but he is being assertive. He is, he knows he's tough. He knows he can throw down with the best of them. He doesn't need false bravado to tweak him up. And that, was a cool thing going on between the two of them. But as it's going on, you're not just dealing with Superman. You're dealing with the whole JLA. John steps up saying, hey, as a representative of the Guardians of the Universe. This is thing. You're in violation. You're breaking and entering. He's a cop. He's going to step up, but that's still, we see that, Icon is from a different, from the cooperative. And this is, we're
Terminus.
not what?
Terminus. He's from Terminus, part of the cooperative, which is outside of the jurisdiction of the Guardians of the Universe, as he's saying. And I'm not underneath. I like that he's aware of the Guardians of the Universe and the fact that he is not in any violation of anything because they're not under that banner.
But tell me.
That kind of depth to me is really important because, John then comes back saying, you're not in the cooperative anymore, you're in my territory. It's really important because that establishment of awareness of each team to each other.
Yeah.
On the, being aware of Terminus, being aware of the cooperative, that John's a part of that. But also the reasoning why we've never seen them before in the Green Lantern books is because there isn't a Green Lantern in that sector.
Yeah. And I tell you, just how cool is that panel, though? You got John standing there just saying, hey, you're in my territory now. The green light shining. He's ready. He's got this really hoorah, hardcore look on his face. And I was just like, yeah, this is, they're pumping themselves up. They're showing out, saying, hey, we don't want to have to hurt you, but we will. And they're both doing it to each other. This isn't false bravado. This is confidence. And that was something I ate up from everybody. Even Dinah steps up saying, hey, you're breaking it in and you're trying to steal the remains of one of our most dangerous mortal enemies. These aren't actions of, respectful individual. And as it's going up, more banter. You got Donner and Blitzen just showing, hey, we're just trying to yell, light it, rather than cause a problem. Come on, let's be friends here. And she's cracking her little jokes.
They're antagonizing the situation because this gets Dinah mad, which is again increasing the battle. It is funny how certain members of the team, a situation that was really a conversation at this point, even though John was angry, it still was at a point where it could be salvaged, now is being escalated.
Yeah, and, it's, kind of funny that the speedsters on both sides are the antagonists, if you will. Wally's not a complete antagonist, but he is a bit of a smart aleck. So you can see him come up with a corpse like that, and you see Blitzen on the other side, she's kind of the antagonist, but, I kind of, you start looking at for comparisons, like that Donner, female powerhouse, reminded me a lot of Wonder Woman. She had that same kind of, she was trying to be calm and, understanding, hey, let's just keep this calm. I'm trying to, let's just, make everything okay. And that's the same type of reaction that Wonder Woman would have, kind of a calming yet powerful female presence. Blitzen, the little smart aleck. You got Wally, who does a little bit. But it was just like, I was seeing these comparisons and I was noticing them and I was liking them a lot. And one of the things I thought was kind of cool was Hardware is standing up there going, that's it. He's got a red sun plasma laser, thing, got it pointed at Superman. Then out of nowhere, Arrow, bam, blasts it and shorts it out. And I was like, yes, that is team dynamics. This is a weapon that could hurt Superman, so some of his team member jumps in and does the deed.
I love that Clark already had that taken care of. And Arrow says, hey, you shouldn't have to do all that. We're a team.
Right.
Interesting little dialogue and banter there. I do like that Superman shows, though, that, I've been around long enough that, dude, I knew how to handle it. It was a great moment. Icon takes this moment to get Superman outside, so the two of them, obviously, we find out, so the two of them could have banter here, which, to me, adds further weight to what Dinah was saying to them all along last issue. You guys are still running the show. Stay out of my way. I'm the leader here. She should have been clued in on this one. She's right to be angry.
Oh, yeah, and I'm wondering if we're going to see some fallout from this, because we know everybody's going to find out what happened. Now, I was thinking the only thing Clark really could say to cover for this, saying the reason he didn't tell her, is if he didn't tell Batman and Diana, then he's okay with Dinah.
What if the fallout is she's going to boot him off the team?
Hey?
They're usurping her authority.
That could happen. That would actually be a kind of a neat little thing, seeing Superman get kicked off the JLA. Would he accept the punishment? Of course,
she tried to handle this
privately.
Appropriately with him, but now they're still doing this. Are we going to see more of this?
Yeah.
In the next issue, to the point where she has to get rid of them.
Dude, that didn't even enter my head. I'm like, dang, that's kind of cool.
Because we're still seeing him, like, he totally, like, at this point in time, he should have pulled her aside. She should technically be out there with them.
Yeah.
So, interesting little problem right now. Superman is taking the lead of the Justice League at this particular moment.
Yeah. Now, how cool, though, as we said, banter, just when he knocks Superman out of the station, one punch knocks out. You see that just a little bit from Hardware. Want some ice for your hand? Just because he knows he just punched out Superman. That's going to hurt like heck. But it still continues on with the thing. Hey, everything you've heard about how strong he is, he's stronger than that. Get ready for him to come back. And you see the team forming up now. We are past negotiations. We are past talking about it. This is on. They tried their, diplomacy. This is now diplomacy with an edge to it, because you got to throw down, and you get some not only cool fight sequences, team dynamic fight sequences, but you get that banter going back and forth. Donner to Wonder Woman. Hey, I'm a really big fan of yours. Well, consider this my autograph. Flip, bam, blast. I was like, ooh, cool stuff going on.
But again, the respect of saying, I've never fought anybody stronger than me. So Donner has to face the fact now that she's got an opponent who is stronger than her.
And I also got to say, I dig the fact that there can be only one winged woman in the satellite, as Hawkgirl swoops in with the mace, cracks her on the head, even comments on the fact that, hey, you'd think with all that metal, she'd have a helmet on. She'd look for the weakness, went after it. That was the initial target, which we kind of learned isn't.
What I like here, too, is that we're not just seeing the JLA winning. We're seeing it kind of trade-offs, like with the stuff would happen with Roy. Roy was talking a little bit of trash, but Hardware got the better of him at that point. I do like that this is a trade-off and exchange in battle as it's going on.
Oh, yeah. I enjoy a little trash talking as much as anybody, but that'd be more impressive coming from a guy who wasn't flat on his butt. I was like, yeah.
Very, very cool moment.
I know. And it's, the usage of the Flash and Roy, Blitzen goes through, snatches all the arrows out of his back. He's like, what? Flash swings by, takes him back from her, and she's like, that's impossible. No one can move that fast. Well, actually, I know 3 or 4 people who can, and it's that little funny banter, once again, involving Roy and Wally, who are good friends. They know each other. The one helped the other out.
Well, and the bit with Vixen and the purse and everything that's being pulled out, too. Just this whole exchange is really great. Did you just pull that chair out of your purse? Yes, dear, I have superpowers. Do try and keep up.
Something you should know about me. I don't respond well to sarcasm, as Vixen clocks her with bear power, so there's some power, some oomph backing it up. I was like, yeah, outstanding. Now, we're talking about Iota pulling stuff out. I really don't want to know where she pulled the tank from. She's like, did you just pull that tank out of... I don't want to know. But you got to like the fact that,
Well, she responds to that, though. Don't be crude. I picked it up in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Once again, banter back and forth. There was some cool stuff going on. And, I like the fact that we also see, either an understanding of each other or, respect for each other. Because, Flash, drops Hardware with some, super-powered speed punches. But he runs basically right into Twilight and is sucked into his own little universe or wherever he is. And he's like, hey, as fast as the Flash is, he's going to get out of me soon enough. We got to act, and we got to act now. There's something more they're doing here. Well, they're stealing the candle, but it's not just about the fight. And I like that. This has always been about the mission. They have their mission on hand is to get that candle. And we especially see that later on at the ending of this issue that it's mission focused first. And I ate that up. That is a, covert unit, good guy kind of hero type thing to do, that they're not just getting into the fight for the fun of the fight. They have a mission at hand. They have something they have to do.
Superman here, though, these bits with Superman as it goes through, really right there, added to me the weight that he doesn't trust Dinah 100% to lead the team. Very simple. This is what the Trinity's been doing all along. The 3 of them feel that they need to keep a watchful eye on this team. And how wrong this is. He's helping Icon set up the JLA and the Shadow Cabinet as well.
See, here's the only thing I was thinking that Superman could get out of this. Because there's only the 2 of them who know it. What it know about the fact that they're working together really, and it's there's a candle that the reason they're taking the candle is because some superpower to stop somebody with the power of a god, or it's going to flesh out later on.
You still didn't trust Dinah to go along with it.
But here's the thing:
judgment.
If Icon came to Superman and said, "Hey, I need you to trust me, and I need you not to tell anyone," and Superman gave his word saying, "I won't tell anyone," then he would be in the cover.
But Dinah's response should be, being that I am the leader of the JLA, you should have pulled me in, and you should have told him, you can trust Dinah, she's the leader of the JLA, we need to defer to her leadership in this particular situation. That should be the one that you're addressing this with. Superman is not the leader of the JLA. Icon is presenting this as the leader of the Shadow Cabinet.
I agree with you, and I hear exactly what you're saying.
I'm saying this is like this is one more step in Dinah saying,
and,
who is the leader of the JLA, you or me? You have manipulated my team.
But if he had no choice in the matter, that's the whole thing. If
he did have a choice in the matter, he had the choice to trust the leader of the Justice League of America.
But it's up to Icon to trust Dinah, not Superman. If Icon wouldn't trust Dinah, then it would have been all chaos. It's up to Superman to say,
I am not the leader of the Justice League of America. Dinah Lance is the leader of the Justice League of America. She will go along with this. Icon trusts Superman. Therefore, if Superman would have said to him, you can trust the leader of the Justice League of America, Dinah should be involved in this. This is another secret meeting that Dinah should have been a part of. I agree with you. I think this is a brilliantly written moment. I think this is 100% correct. I think Superman's acting very much in character and doing what he should be doing. I'm not disagreeing and disputing the moment. I'm saying Dinah's going to be mega pissed at this, and she has a reason to be mega pissed at this, but it's a great, well-written moment.
Oh, yeah. And, dude, I completely agree. And even
I'm playing devil's advocate on Dinah's end, saying, she's going to be ticked off at this. This is more, we saw the foreshadowing to all this built up in the first issue. What I'm saying is this is a continuation of what we saw in the first issue. That was not an isolated conversation. We actually are contradicting ourselves right now in the sense of saying that this isn't going to come up again. Oh, yes, it's going to come up again. It's going to come up again heavy because it's still continuing after she gave them the opportunity to stand behind her.
Right. Well,
they're still doing it.
Well, yeah. And what I said before, though, wasn't that it's not going to come up again. Mm-hmm. It's she's not going to just throw it in their face. That's what I meant by what I said. But now, this is now a new situation where it comes back. So, bam. But if this
isn't a new situation, though, it's the same situation continuing.
It's the same problem, new situation.
What I'm saying is, though, it's all one big problem that continues on. It might be a new situation, but it's the same problem that's continuing.
Right.
This isn't isolated, and I think she's going to have to throw it in their face at this point.
Yeah, well, at this point she will. Mm-hmm. But before this thing happened, there was no way she wasn't going to bring it up. She wasn't going to hold it over their head.
Agreed.
That's what I was saying by that.
Totally agree. I agree that it was done at the end of that conversation in her eyes, assuming and trusting that they would then defer to her. Now Superman should have deferred to her at this point.
And here's the thing. I don't think Superman deferred to Diana or Bruce about this.
But Diana and Bruce aren't the leaders of the Justice League of America.
No, but that's going to be what I think Bruce's argument's going to be. He's going to be saying, hey, we weren't doing this behind your back. I'm the only one who knew about this.
No. Again, Superman did this behind back, though.
But that's what I'm saying Soup's going to say, because I think Diana's going to first come out saying you guys are doing it.
I think we're going to see more from Batman and Diana in this capacity. I'm saying I think maybe the reasoning why Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman aren't going to be on the Justice League right now, I'm thinking not only has to do with Final Crisis, but has to do with these events that we're seeing at this moment. And I'm also going to say, I think what's going to happen is Diana and Bruce are going to defend Clark on this and adamantly agree that he did the right thing. And she's going to say, no, you didn't. You should have sent him to me and let me make the judgment call. You are not the leader of the Justice League.
Yes, I don't know how far this is going to go.
In the military, wait, you're a military fan. Is a general going to let someone under them usurp their authority over and over and over again, doing secret things behind their back, or are they going to say, you are now a detriment to my squad because you are repeatedly usurping my authority? I am the one running the show. You can't be having secret meetings under me, because what happens is if I let you do it and I let you get away with it, what's going to stop anybody else from doing this underneath me? I need to do something about this. It needs to be handled. If you can't, I spoke to you privately about this. Now, publicly, because you are doing this, I mean, to this point in time now, this is public knowledge. She has to boot Superman. She has to.
I'm not arguing with you on that point. I'm agreeing with you that she needs to. I'm just saying, I'm just wording things differently.
I think Batman and Diana are going to agree with Clark on this one. And I think Diana's going to have to say, as a general of this team, she's going to have to boot the big three.
See, I don't think this is more me talking, not what I think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. I don't think she needs to boot the big three. I think in this case, you can put all blame on Superman and only boot him and the other two. Now,
if the other two, wait, hold on. Knowing these Trinity the way that they've been, I think they're going to defend Superman, and because of that, because they're going to so adamantly believe in him at this point, you're going to say, look, the three of you together are going to keep defending each other. When Batman does this, Diana, you're going to defend Batman doing it. The three of you have this idea that it's okay for you to keep usurping my authority. If you three agree to that, you three got to go. I think that the two of them are going to need to go because they are going to defend him on this, because they're going to agree he was in the right.
I agree they will defend her, and I agree that eventually they will all be gone, but I don't think she should. If I was her friend, I would not tell her to kick all three of them. I would say
as a military man, what would a general do?
Kind of a difference, though.
How is it different?
No,
the Justice League is more like a military squad. This isn't the family like the JSA.
See, okay, it's kind of hard to explain, just because there is the different hierarchy and there is the rank and structure, and Superman should get kicked out. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I would say this is more of a. You would keep two people that would encourage members of the team to do this. I would give them the chance to stay on. The chance was already given. This is me personally. Was already given in the meeting room. This is me personally, not what I think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I wouldn't kick Batman and Diana just because they defend it. If they defend him and she says no, he's gone, and they don't accept that decision, then they have to go. But the initial defense of Superman's position is not reason to kick them from the team. It is when she's already had the conversation with them, and they should say, you know what, Dinah's right on this one. She gave us the opportunity to stand behind her, and you did the wrong thing. That's what they should be saying. Yeah. And if they won't do that, then they need to go. She already gave them the opportunity. She laid down the law. They need to stand by her. I agree with her on this one. But if they don't know Superman was doing this, well, she's going to be pissed. And if they don't know Superman, hold on, let me finish. If they don't know, see, I already know what you're saying. You've already said this a million times. They are going, dude, I understand what you're saying. If they don't know she's doing this, but if after the fact, when it is inevitably revealed that Superman knew that this was going on, if they defend him on this, then they totally got nothing out of her message either. I don't know. I can see what you're saying, and I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm just saying my personal leadership style, I wouldn't initially kick them. She didn't, though. When she found in their secret little room that they were manipulating. When this all comes to light, Superman, yes, kick him. You need to. Dude, I wouldn't initially kick them. Three people that have created a secret hyper-dimensional room so they could do this. They could manipulate the team from the shadows. They have already done this intense violation of the team in her eyes. As the leader, she should have been a part of that room from the get-go. She's right on that. Now, all of a sudden, she's called them on it, given them the respect and the courtesy of who they are as team members. She's given them that respect of coming to them one-on-one. And I agree with the whole discussion that we had with that moment. She gave them the respect of saying, hey, we can do this quietly. I think it's going to get very noisy, and she's right to do it. She needs to show her leadership at this point. I think if Superman does this now and they back him, she is well within her right to tell the three of them to take a hike. Yeah. And come back when you're ready to be team members. And I agree with you that she's in the right to kick him. Okay. It's just me personally as a leader. My personal leadership style, I wouldn't. And it's a personal leadership choice. What if they didn't have regulation haircuts? Well, that's got nothing to do with regulation haircuts, man. No, but seriously, it's just that's what I'm arguing. My point. It's not saying what she should do. I completely understand if she does kick him. I understand what you're saying. It's right. Knowing you like I do, I don't think your leadership. I don't think you would do that. I think you're letting the fact that it's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman cloud you on that. That could be a little bit of column A, a little B. Now, I would say I would hate to do it, but I would have to kick Sue. Mm-hmm. Just by doing this, I would have to kick. So we're in firm agreement that Superman needs to go after this. Yeah, I do agree. I hate to say it because he is Superman, but this has to go. I would give. Now, are we in agreement that this is in character for Superman? Oh yeah, and that and honestly, I should clarify too. I think Superman's doing the right thing. Yeah. As I said, this is my argument. I think Superman will have, which is an interesting contradiction because I do think I'm like, this is in character for Superman. This is who Superman is as a character. I don't know that Superman always works well on teams because of this. Yeah, I think Superman's argument is one that he's doing the right thing because I can't trust him and him only. Mm-hmm. He was going to get the part of their agreement was he helps out Icon. Icon gives him full debriefing on everybody involved. And we saw that Batman didn't know who he was up against. I took that everybody to mean not only all of Shadow Cabinet, but all the other people in their various, milestone universe. So they're going to get more intelligence out of this for this one thing. 2, Superman saying, hey, he trusted me. We had to keep this classified because it had to look real.
Because I'm not able to shut off being a leader.
I don't know. I think he's able to shut it off because he's a reluctant leader.
All 3 of them are not able to shut it off. And that becomes part of the problem. Yeah. They're not able to be followers. They want to be the leaders all the time. They don't always work well on teams and play nice on teams. They don't know when to step back.
Yeah, it's hard for them. It's hard for them.
100% right.
It's
because they've got so much responsibility on them. Yeah. The 3 of them have responsibility for the universe so many times. It's great.
And just like it's hard for you sometimes to be in a discussion because you just jump in there.
But it's interesting how well developed these characters are.
It's the alpha male principle. All 3 of them are alpha males.
Oh, yes.
All 3 of them have to, it's just their nature of who they are. They jump in there. They got to do it.
And for how much responsibility the 3 of them take on themselves for the universe in general. It becomes a hard part to pull back because they don't know how to pull back. They're all driven. They're all so driven at that point. It's great. It's interesting to read this. It's just such a great sequence.
Now, I tell you, the Superman Icon discussions, some interesting discussions about who would win in the fight. And I like the fact that they did address this, about how, would the Shadow Cabinet be able to take the JLA? And it's kind of an interesting thing where, Icon says, hey, as much as I'm rooting for the underdog, you guys would win. But I did put a no-kill order on them, so that kind of changes things. And it does change some stuff where if you have characters who are able to kill, that would definitely weaken the team. But it could also strengthen the morale of the team. If they saw Roy's head get snapped off, it's on. And we're talking there would be a win one for the Gipper attitude. And we've seen Wonder Woman throw down hard and heavy.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting debate who would actually win in a fight between these 2.
The JLA.
I'm not going to argue the point.
And they aren't.
Yeah.
But it would be a good fight.
Oh, yeah. It'd be a real good fight, especially if they took off the no-kill order.
Oh, yeah.
If they actually could go full out all the way and not hesitate, that would be an interesting fight. I don't think...
Especially without the full info on them.
Yeah.
Which Icon's agreeing to give.
Right. So... Next, the recap.
Wait, and I'm seeing right here, Icon is so going to be Superman's replacement.
You think?
I think Icon's going to be on the JLA.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, this crossover is meant to bring a milestone character to the team. This crossover wasn't meant to be an isolated thing. There's going to be a milestone character on.
Oh, cool.
The JLA. So I'm thinking, spinning out of the fact that we're losing the big 3. We're going to get Icon. Okay. Is going to be one of the new members of the team. Dr. Light's going to be another new member on the team.
Yeah, see, I didn't think. I didn't know that the.
Oh yeah, part of this crossover is introduce the milestone.
I thought it was just to introduce the characters.
Now I'm not 100% sure that it's Icon. I mean, in the sense, I'm guessing from the storytelling, Icon would make the most sense. If we're losing Superman, who would you pick from the milestone team? I'd pick Icon.
But is Icon a team player?
And you're...
Well, actually, you know what? He is because he's not the leader of the Shadow Cabinet. What's her Iron Butterfly seemed like she was calling the shots.
She's usurping the authority the same way Superman is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's you get into these little interesting debates and tangents, and
and just to say, I'm not 100% sure that it's going to lead to Dinah kicking them off. I'm saying it as, and I should clarify that it isn't. I think it's an interesting possibility. I think she should kick them off because of this, because I think as a leader, she has given them their chance. She gave them their nice, friendly warning. Now she got to take action.
Yeah. I don't know. Part of me thinks, we're going to see Soup get kicked off, which is kind of because we've already seen her kick off Vixen to say, hey, you're gone.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so
that's where, to me, fits what she's trying to do. These are life and death situations that people are put in. She needs to be able to rely on that.
Now, as this continues on, as they're having a discussion back in the satellite, we get some more cool fighting going on, and we're seeing the the JLA kind of get the cabinet, basically have them on the ropes. It's coming down to it. You're seeing the JLA is probably going to win this out. Even Twilight saying, "Hey, Flash is about to out of me. We got to do something. We got to do something now." And here was a cool moment for the Shadow Cabinet. They're recognizing, we're throwing down, but the mission is get the candle out, not fight the JLA. We got to get out of here. So Iota shrinks down the candle, gives it to Hardware, saying, "Hey, it's on you. Get this out of here." And
I love the recognition that the nth metal was a different kind of metal too.
Yeah.
In that whole sequence.
Yeah. Now, as Hardware's got the thing and he's sprinting for the teleporter, we get probably I will call it one of the most monumental, epic in nature events that I have wanted since episode 1. Not only do we get some cool artwork, but we get the one and only Hawkman calling for backup. His exact words: "He's trying to destroy the Earth, and I can't stop him alone." I finally get my Hawkman calling for backup.
But he also single-handedly, by himself, was able to stop Hardware from escaping the Justice League because they couldn't handle him. He was ready to escape. If it weren't for Hawkman's timely arrival, after how much he got beaten up, Hawkman, he was still able to take down the one guy the whole entire team couldn't stop.
And you know what? I tell you, this was a cool look.
I agree with you, actually. The ending and the reason why Hawkman was calling for backup, I totally 100% agree with you that it was a great moment, because you see how severely Carter is beaten by one of his oldest enemies in the Shadow Thief.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's recognizing that whatever is going on at this point,
I'm assuming the whole Shadow Thief is connected with why they want to steal the candle, what their interest in was, with Dr. Light. So this is all kind of coming together, and we'll get a pretty cool issue. But
and Hawkman's arrival now has put Superman and Icon in a position where they're going to have to reveal all.
Right. And that may be because that's
why it's so much, that ending right there is why I'm so utterly convinced that this is going to come to a head, and Dinah's going to have to do something.
Yeah, and
I guess I never thought before. It's funny. A lot of this came during our discussion that I started realizing, wait a minute, I think we were wrong in saying in issue 27 that Dinah's done and she'll never bring this up again. I think now she has to bring it up.
Yeah,
because one of them has forced their hand, and I think the team is going to be, not only should Dinah be insulted, but the whole team's going to be insulted, because now what the big three have shown is not only do they not have confidence in Dinah, they don't have confidence in the team, that the team can handle themselves without them manipulating. So I think Dinah's going to have to boot the big three, not only for that reason, but to keep team morale. Because the whole team's going to find out now that Big Brother's been watching them because Big Brother didn't trust them.
Yeah. Oh, see, that is good. Oh.
See, that's where I'm saying there's a whole twist to this whole thing now where, how are you going to keep morale on this team when these heroes who've been saying that they've been nurturing them and putting together a new Justice League and that everything has changed? They haven't changed. The three of them are still pulling the strings because they can't pull back. So Dinah's going to have to say, hey, the three of you have not been able to, it's been 27 issues now. The three of them have been pulling the strings, even though they've been saying that's different. They handpicked this team, tried to handpick this team when the team kind of came together on its own.
Yeah, because that was a cool, you think back to issue 0 where they had their team laid out, but that's not who ended up being on the team.
At all.
So, yeah.
Interesting turn of events that have happened with this whole. It's going to be interesting to see how this all comes to a head. I think it's going to be a very messy situation.
Yeah, and
I guess I was assuming that the events of Final Crisis were why Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman weren't on this team. I'm wondering if it isn't the events of what they've been doing all along.
And they get kicked before. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's because it is. Batman and Wonder Woman, I am giving them a little bit more leeway, but seeing how they handle, the next issue when it's revealed, how do they handle, how do they approach
also
Dinah?
The decision is going to be, how is the team going to handle when they find out what's been going on?
Yeah.
Because I think the team is going to find out now because of these events, because Dinah's going to have to say, you three, once again, one of you's been manipulating behind the scenes, which means now they're going to go, what are you talking about? She's going to right? Isn't she going to have to reveal this?
Yeah, I think so.
Can it stay hidden at this point?
Well, yeah.
And how is the team going to react?
They're going to be pissed. I think
this is a violation of trust.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think some of the younger heroes, like Firestorm, will be a little bit more understanding.
I agree,
and that is going to be further evidence to Dinah that, hey, I got to do something about this. If we have a younger member who's learning from these people that he respects and admires.
But also, are Roy, Wally, Vixen, how understanding are they going to be?
See, I think that's going to be a toughie because Roy is going to have Dinah's back.
Right.
That's family. Dinah is his family. She's the one that helped get him clean and sober. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have her back automatically. I say he's going to be one of the first ones to step up with Dinah. And then Vixen's going to say, hey, when I was messing up, you guys covered for me. She kicked me from the team, but she welcomed me back once I got my powers back. What's good for me is good for you. She's going to step with thing.
Right.
And then, Hawk Girl, I don't know. There's going to be some interesting stuff going on here, especially, Wally. I can see Wally standing with Roy and Dinah just because of, this is who he's...
This is interesting. See?
You know what?
The whole thing gets very interesting.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm wondering if instead of kicking them, if they all say, you know what, you're right, we need to step down. If they step up and say, we were in the wrong, we need to step down. And they choose to step down instead of her kicking them.
Getting booted. I actually like that better.
They say, "Hey, we were in the wrong."
Yeah,
I could see it like when she initially.
We need to let you guys grow.
Yeah.
Without our interference.
Yeah, or when she initially confronts them, they initially start to defend.
We're here whenever you need us, but
it's
we need to let you guys be able to take things in.
Yeah, it's. I
actually like that even better.
Yeah.
I actually know. You know what? I'm inclined to agree with you on that. That would be, and that actually fits their character even more to say, you know what? We need to cut the strings and let you guys take over at this point. I actually like that. You know what? I like that even better. I think they're that's more inclined to happen than what I said.
Yeah. Granted, knowing it'll be something completely different and we won't even know.
Yeah, it won't even be referenced. They left because of Final Crisis and what's going on. And Diana, what's going on with her and genocide and all that. We've already seen what's happened to them. And none of this will even show up. It's interesting, though, to speculate on it. Because it is pure speculation.
Yeah, it's
very emotionally driven speculation.
I know, yeah. And it's like, I love how when we get in arguments, we're basically saying the same thing, but we're saying it differently. So we got to keep arguing our point. No, it's my wording. Basically, because that whole argument.
I actually at the end of this, though, I actually do agree with you 100%. Admittedly, that you're right. It would be more that they would walk recognizing their own weakness in that particular part because that's their strength of character. Of when they're faced with it and they understand it, they confront it, they would actually be willing to walk away from it. You're right. Very emotionally driven book. I really liked it. And I'm actually looking forward to the Faces of Evil issue.
And just a quick comment. Carter does look like a badass. I really do like how he's got the bloody and the battle scars and just the tattered costume. But also, even when he comes in, they say Hawkman. They changed the lettering of his name to make it
his logo.
Make it look like his logo and all that. I was like, oh, okay. I gotta get this was a good art team. This was an enjoyable read, just story, but also visually pleasing. I really am digging the JLA.
You filthy criminals.
Jim, I want to talk a little bit about Rann Thanagar War 7 and 8, the whole closing of that whole thing, because the whole thing ended with this whole great thing with Sinar. And I liked that it wasn't so much that the heroes beat him as much as they survived him, because Sinar actually, to a certain extent, won. He got what he wanted.
Yeah, he said this was just the beginning of it. This was the first stage that needed to happen.
And he foresaw that this was going to happen.
I'm really, and it's actually kind of got me wondering about with the Hawkman story, the Hawkman stuff coming out, and because we're going to see this a little bit more.
Well, Strange Adventures is next.
Yeah.
The miniseries, which is solicited this month. That's going to be the next miniseries that spins out of this, which I'm assuming is going to focus a little bit on New Rann as well. What do you think about New Rann?
I like that. I thought that was a cool usage of it. We have the old throne world that's completely decimated, populated by the Rannians, and they're like, hey, this is embrace this. This is part of your new home. And even the prince, whatever his name is.
Starman.
Yeah. Doesn't he have a regular name?
Yeah, but he's the Starman of Throne Room.
Right,
I mean, it's right.
Yeah, I was trying to think.
He's one of the many Starmen.
Yeah, even he, though, accepted that, maybe it's not time for a monarchy. Maybe it's time for something different here. And he's kind of stepping down from power. Instead of being this, all-powerful, the big head cheese, he's stepping back and going to let, the Rannians come in.
But invites them to his world. I like that he stepped up, because he was so angry. And he was actually wanted to almost kill Adam. Well, not almost. He wanted to kill Adam Strange. He held him responsible for a lot of what happened. But at this point, he recognizes that, hey, I'm a hero, and he does. He steps up and saves them, and shows up, and he shows again what it means to be a true hero, to look beyond the events and to try and do what's best for the people. It's a really interesting turn of events on this one. I really enjoyed this a great deal.
Yeah, and I liked how the Thanagarians really have been kind of turned into the villains of this whole story. By the end here, they're pretty much enthralled into this whole thing, and
because of the manipulation by Sinar's religion.
Yeah, so we had the Ranns doing one side, the Ranns and Thanagars both are doing kind of a villainous thing, but the Ranns kind of slipped back. They kind of got awakened that Lady Styx isn't this end all be all.
Yeah, well, I love it that his father-in-law, Strange's father-in-law, kind of snaps to awareness when he says, wait a minute, that's what I've been worshiping?
We got a problem here.
Whoa. And I was glad that it ended that way, because I feel like there's, at this point in time in this Rann Thanagar, this big story, I needed to feel a sense of progression. And I really do feel that we've gotten a sense of progression at this point. The war itself has come to an end, with new Rann being formed. There's time for, I'm assuming in Carter's series, the upcoming Hawkman series, we're going to deal with the Thanagarians and what's going on there. Or in Strange Adventures.
I'm thinking in Carter's series, I'm thinking we're going to see them as the villains for his story. Because even like when Carter had his one shot, they kind of took away his connection to Prince Kofu and made it more stronger connection to the Thanagarians.
If that's the truth, though. I don't think all of that's... I think Starlin's playing around a little bit with Carter in the sense that I don't think we've seen what's true yet.
Yeah, but I think that was a setup though for being the villains. Kind of. I think we're going back to where his series first started off with the Shadow War of the Hawk, and I think we're going to actually see that. I don't think it's going to be exactly as it was. I don't think because when we first talked about this, I was thinking this is going to be maybe a mind game or maybe a whatnot. I don't know, but I think this is actually going to become Carter's history, his origin.
From everything I've read with Starlin, though, it seems like Starlin's not looking so much to take away from anything that we've seen already with Carter, but more to expand it and tell us that there are things we haven't known yet. So I don't think we're necessarily losing
the whole reincarnated prince.
Yeah.
We're just getting some little bit tighter...
A further explanation of who he really is and what's part of him and all that. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off of what I've read in interviews. I'm very interested to see what Starlin's actually doing. I don't think, I'm speculating too, because Starlin obviously doesn't want to reveal everything before this. He wants people to read it on the pages, which makes sense. So I'm anxious to read it. Rann Thanagar ended so well. I'm anxious to read Strange Adventures. I'm anxious to read the Hawkman series. I'm guessing what's going to happen is here we're going to get Strange Adventures first, then the Hawkman series, versus them running concurrently.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like these cosmic minis.
Oh God, yeah. It's a fun read, and it's fleshing out the characters that we haven't seen. And we talked a little bit when we were talking about JLA about Buddy. You see him realize, hey, I don't completely want to be a full-time superhero. I want to spend some time with my family. I want to, be at home. And
I want to be done a little bit with these space adventures he makes the mentions of, too, which I really liked. What did you think about Tigor from the Omega Men? Did you read that Omega Men miniseries?
I did not read that. And he seemed like a cool character. By the end of it, I kind of had a groove of who he was, and I liked some of his interactions with, Comet, and I kind of like to see him again.
What about the revamp of Comet? How are you enjoying that?
Oh, I'm loving Captain Comet. Or Comet now, not Captain.
Right.
I like just his mindset. He's not the dun-dun-dun hero. He's the what's in it for me. But when it comes time, he does knuckle up.
Right.
He does do the right thing.
Especially when his dog sidekick calls him out and just says, "Hey, you better not run away from them this time. You get in there and you."
Yeah. Well, and you think at the end of the series, Adam Strange basically tells him, we really don't have the money to pay you what we promised now because we're restarting a whole new world. And he's like, I kind of figured that. Mm-hmm. So, he's not going to be a jerk about it and, say, well, I'll take your daughter then as payment. He's not an evil bad guy. He does want to make some money. A little bit of jingle, in his pocket is kind of a motivation for him. He's kind of like the Han Solo of the universe. There is some good to him.
A really good guy,
but
internally.
Yeah.
But externally, he has the smuggler.
Yeah, he's got that. Yeah,
you're right. He's very Han Solo. I actually like that about him.
Yeah, no, that's
you
what
believe
makes
that. You know that he's really a good guy.
Yeah,
but that his external motivations are financially driven. But when it comes to saving the day, Comet's going to be there for you. He's going to swoop in.
Yeah, he will definitely.
You're all clear, kid. All that stuff. Yeah.
He will do.
Cool.
He'll do the right thing.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying these cosmic minis. I'm hoping that with the Hawkman series, that we keep getting more of Starlin's exploration of the rest of these characters outside of it.
Now, with the weird, how much do you think of the weird is left?
Or do I think it's Sinar in there?
Yeah, the pure Sinar.
Now, did you take that Sinar... See, I was going to ask you about that.
I took that was Sinar, pure Sinar in control of the weird's body. And I don't know how much of the weird is left.
I think the weird's in there.
Yes, I didn't know.
I don't think the weird's gone. I think what we're going to see, though, is that Sinar's overwhelming... I think Sinar wanted the weird's body and foresaw that, but I think we are going to eventually see the weird regain his body at some point.
Yeah, I don't know, because... because Sinar always talked about the Six and all that, and
the Aberrant Six.
The Aberrant Six. Who are? We know that Adam Strange and Hawkman are two of the Six.
Right.
Who are the other Six? Is the Weird one of them?
I don't know.
Is Buddy? Is the Prince?
Well, there was when he was talking about it with that Deacon Dark. There was the implication that all of the Six have not been revealed. They were not all of those six members were not there.
Yeah, so there's other parts to this whole mystery that we don't know yet.
What do you think about Bizarro and all this, man?
I love Bizarro.
Bizarro was great.
He was awesome. That was a great usage and great writing of Bizarro.
Yeah.
When they needed him to be the basher, go get him. And when they first introduce him, they feed him and they get him kind of in a carb overload pass out, And I was just like, he's kind of like the little puppy of the group. Who, he's more like the little pit bull puppy, because he could rip your arms off very easily if he, just by accident. So, I like the usage of Bizarro. I'd like to see more of Bizarro like this. He's not this monstrous villain who wants to destroy the universe. He's, in a way, he has the intellect of a child, but the body and power of Superman. So if he's manipulated by bad guys, then he's nasty. If he's manipulated by good guys, then he can be a good guy. If he's left to his own devices, then he can accidentally cause massive amounts of chaos and destruction just because he's Bizarro.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. It was a wonderful, wonderful series for me, and I'm glad that we had this opportunity. I'm like, this is another one of those that I wish we had talked about sooner, and I didn't want to. We mentioned it in passing during the JLA discussion, and I really wanted to talk about it, so I'm glad that we did.
Holy caffeine!
Hey, what's up? Just want to say I enjoy the show. You guys are doing a great job. Take it easy.
I totally did not expect that, but it was very nice.
Thank you very much, dude.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Sean and Jim, Don Sanderson, calling from Orlando. Not really calling to contribute anything this week, but just to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And to all the Raging Bullets listeners, thanks for doing everything you do to help Sean and Jim keep this show alive. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever your religious persuasion is. And may everyone have a blessed New Year. Come see me in Orlando sometime. We'll go to Disney World. Merry Christmas, guys.
I actually really like that he made mention of the fact that everything the listeners do. Because it really is, this show, there's so many things that listeners have done for us over the time since we've been doing this that...
Yeah, this is definitely a team dynamic here. We all throw out our stuff, and it's, you guys feed in, we talk about it, and it's kind of a cool, fun environment.
So I agree with this sentiment. I know it's a little bit in January, but I definitely want to agree with his happy holiday sentiment to everybody. And I'd love to go to Disney World.
I know. Oh, God, yeah. Hey, Ashley's mentioning the New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
You got any New Year's resolution you want to share?
It's a good question. I don't really have a New Year's resolution at the moment. Other than, do you have one?
I do. I do have one, and I've already started working on it. And so far, I'm going strong with it.
What's that?
The New Year's resolution is to be, a little bit more open, a little bit more outgoing. When I'm, expressing my opinions. So it's, I'm not going to be as calm and laid back as I have been. So yeah.
When did the calm and laid back start? I must have missed those episodes.
It's kind of a little joke I've been doing with people at work. Whenever somebody asks me, what my New Year's resolution is, that's what I tell them. And they all give me that same type of reaction. You've been laid back? And I'm like, oh yeah, wait till you see me this year. The filter's off.
I do have a New Year's resolution, actually. I mean, wasn't really one that I designated as a New Year's resolution, but it was something prior to the New Year. I was thinking of just spending more time with my wife, because I get caught up in all this stuff and my job and all that, and just really trying to give her some more time.
Well, that's good. That's a good resolution to have. Spend time with your wife.
Well, it's funny when you get into doing, this type of thing. It's very easy to spend so much time doing. I mean, this show does take quite a bit to put together. So it really is I would say that's probably it wasn't something that I really designated for that purpose, but definitely something that I want to do.
Hey, Sean and Jim, this is the great Mr. Chibi. So I'm driving around and I'm listening to you guys talk about the Doom Patrol. And you're talking about how when they're in the Dada painting, they're defeating the Fifth Horseman, which I haven't read it, so you're saying it's a horse, and they're defeating it through the power of Dada. And that's just blowing my mind away, because when the painters and artists who came up with the Dada movement wanted to find out what they were going to call their thing, they left it up to chance. So they flipped open a dictionary, and the word they chose at random was the word Dada, which in French means a hobby horse, one of those toy horses that that when you're on a kid, it has little handlebars and you rock back and forth on. So I think it's really interesting that in that comic they're defeating a horse with meaning with a horse with no meaning, and that makes little sense. And yeah, bye.
Well, actually, what I love is that the whole thing turned into a hobby horse when it was done, which adds a whole other layer to the whole Dada thing anyway.
I know.
Because they were trapped in there, and that no meaning that you were talking about is what actually it turned into a hobby horse, direct reference back to what Dada is. So obviously Morrison was very clear on what Dada was. We weren't clear on what Dada was, which actually I liked that, because they mentioned it on the forum too, and I like that other layer to it, that it actually was a hobby horse, but that that horse could apply to Crazy Jane in her childhood as well. So there's multiple layers that you could pick out in the whole thing.
Yeah, dude, that is it. Okay, now we're going back into that stuff. Okay, now my head explodes. Oh man, yeah, because as I said before, I thought, kind of like the whole abstract of Dada, find out, that, yeah.
And the paintings the paintings themselves, when you think about it, really did have no meaning. It was all nonsense. And they were trying to survive that nonsense world.
Yeah, and dude, there's just so many layers to this guy's writing.
Right. So he's right. It was nonsense. It was nonsense. Yeah. They were trying to, and that's always becomes the crazy part, is when you try to add meaning to something that has no meaning, it always messes with your head. It's definitely a head trip.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, adding meaning to nonsense. Raging bullets. Okay.
Right. But, I mean, that's part of the problem with the Doom Patrol. They didn't actually win that.
No.
So that's why, I mean, I think he's trying to say that, they were actually beat. I didn't take it in any way, shape, or form that they won, because of the fact that those people were still trapped in there. It didn't work out that way. They survived the experience with nonsense. They didn't win. They didn't make sense of, they really didn't make sense of the nonsense.
They didn't make sense of the nonsense, but they won in the fact that, one, they're still alive, the world isn't destroyed. Mm-hmm. That's how they did win. Because they're able, at the end of the day, they were able to say, "Oh, okay, let's continue on."
But I love that whole thing was turned into the hobby horse.
Yeah, that's a whole huge, wow, kind of a man, just because it was a little hobby horse in the actual definition of the word. So that's cool.
Hey, Sean and Jim. This is Frankie, Detective 27 from the forums. I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. Always want to say that. I wanted to say that I know you guys get a lot of flack sometimes because you are always positive, or usually positive. I just want to say that's what I love about you guys and your show. You're positive slant towards the books you read helps me appreciate the books I read even more. Case in point, Amazon's Attack. When that book first came out, everyone was trashing it. Everyone, myself included. But then when you guys got to it, you opened it up, you took your scalpel and opened up the book, and you showed me a different point of view of what the book was actually about. And I picked up my old copies, and I bought the back issues I was missing, and totally loved it. On another note, I sent Sean a PM asking if I could promote my show, Eye of the Storm, on the forum, put a little thread up there. And he replied, he said yes, and he asked me to call the voicemail line to further promote it. Do you like Wildstorm comics? Well, then I have a show for you. A great time to be a Wildstorm fan right now. They're going through their World's End event, where basically Wildstorm's Earth has been destroyed. And in each title, it's like 4 titles, Wildcats or Authority, Gen 13, and Stormwatch PhD, shows how the heroes and villains cope with this new destroyed Earth. As I said, I do a show called Eye of the Storm, and it talks about Wildstorm comics. So if you're into Grifter, if you're into Midnighter, Authority, come check out my show at Eye of the Storm podcast.blogspot.com and give us a listen. Maybe you might get into Wildstorm comics. Running a little contest on my show. Basically, all you gotta do is answer the question, name the original members of Team 7, and either send it to me by PM or email me at frankie@gmail.com or eyeofthestormpodcast@gmail.com. And I'll put your name in the hat. I'll pick the winner. Anyway, I'm obviously not good at plugging myself.
It's kind of funny when he was talking about that he isn't so good at plugging himself. I'm terrible at it. I mean, it's even when you think about it anymore, to call us a review podcast is kind of silly. Yeah. I really do think of us more as a chat show now than anything else, because we're not looking to review the comics per se. We're looking to do the cover-to-cover kind of chat about the books and the events that are going on. We really are more of a chat show than anything else.
We're a coffee talk.
But we're more of a book club. I really do think of us more as a book club now than anything else, which I think is probably a better labeling of our own show. But it's only taken us 147 episodes to kind of get to that realization.
Just a couple episodes for us to figure out who we are. Yeah.
I love just the sheer amount of podcasts coming in. I don't consider that competition between all. It's one of the reasons why I'll shout out anybody, because I think one of the nice things about it is we all kind of focus on different things. And even, we got our friends over at DC Noise who are doing their own DC-focused podcast. They do it very differently than we do. So, they offer a different perspective, a different look on it. We got the Wildstorm podcast. You and I talk Wildstorm on here, but obviously with as much as we're trying to cover, I wish we had more time for CMX Wildstorm. We tend to focus more on the main DC universe. Vertigo, same thing. We do episodes revolving on those things. We have a chance to go into them. Great for Eye of the Storm. Like he said, if you're interested in Wildstorm at all, this is a great podcast for you to get into and kind of delve into that and kind of get to learn a little bit more about the Wildstorm characters. What do you think about the Worldstorm event? Like, what books in Wildstorm are you still reading? All of those books? The Authority, Gen 13, all of that?
Yeah.
I'm still reading. I actually really like what they did with Worldstorm. They ended the world.
Yeah, here's the thing. When they first started all these epic events, I was getting sick of it. I was at the point where I was literally ready to give up on the entire Wildstorm universe, saying, okay, yeah, oh, Number of the Beast, okay, yeah, you're going on. And then they did something with it. Then they had payout. Bingo. There was something that came out of all these trades. These are world-changing events.
And they all mattered.
And it's all connected together. So the stuff I liked about it before is coming back.
Was your annoyance because you thought it was going to wind up being brushed away?
Yes.
I did too.
I was so worried that it was either going to be brushed away or they were just going to dismiss the hero line and say Wildstorm isn't going to be a hero line anymore. It's going to be a movie and TV line. We're going to have these specials. We're going to have these bits here. But I was worried they were going to get rid of the Wildstorm universe itself.
Right.
And get rid of that whole thing. And to see that they didn't do that, I was like, cool. And then they brought back Wildcats. They brought back Authority. They brought back Stormwatch PhD.
Back spinning out of the events of these stories that you've read, which to me, I'm like, okay, this is really kind of cool. It actually reinvigorated me. I'm loving what they're doing. Gen 13 was like one of my flagship books before with it. I'm really enjoying Gen 13 now. I like the Authority being a monthly book again. These are just different things that I'm getting into. Stormwatch PhD.
Yeah.
The Stormwatch PhD was one of the titles I was most looking forward to coming back as well. Wow, it's great to see these. So I'm enjoying Wildstorm at the moment. I actually enjoy some of their movie and TV tie-ins as well. They're actually very well written. Have you read Push?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's Push is really good. The series they did on Fringe was really good, because usually movie and TV tie-ins kind of stink. But their supernatural stuff, the stuff they were doing for Fringe, the stuff they've done for Push. I've got the X-Files stuff. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But those things have been really good. I mean, they've been very solid, good creative teams on them that just kept me interested. So Wildstorm's batting really high for me at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of those things I wish we could talk more about, but,
And we should. We'll have to try and get some more. That's where Speeding Bullets, I think, comes in, where you and I can just periodically grab stuff like this. Or voice, this type of thing, voicemails.
Voicemail, yeah.
But there's a whole podcast devoted to Wildstorm. For those of you that are like, well, is any of this stuff any good? What are they doing over there? You got his whole podcast to listen to now, which is great as well. So there's always room for more. Is kind of my take on it. So there you go. You got this big Kool-Aid smile on your face. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
You're like, there's always room for more. Yeah, it's like Jell-O.
Podcasting's like Jell-O?
Jell-O, yeah.
That's a sensei-ism. Thanks for that great voicemail, though.
Hey, guys. Dan Kursky here, Glenn on the forums. Two things. First, I got a question. I haven't gone through your entire backlog of episodes yet, so maybe you did this already. But have you guys ever thought about doing a joint episode with an all-Marvel podcast and just talk about various DC Marvel crossovers? Secondly, there's a little bit of shameless self-promotion. Jim Ford and I have recently started up a Green Lantern-centric podcast called the Lanterncast. We talk about everything Green Lantern past, present, future, other media, whatever we can think of. You can find it on iTunes and at lanterncast.com. And we've got a forum in the comicsforums.com where a small community of Green Lantern fans are already starting to come together and talk. So give us a listen. Tell us what you think. Especially you two, since you're still in love with DC, I'd love to get your opinion on the show. And again, that's lanterncast.com. Thanks, guys.
One of the reasons why I ask for voicemails for these things is because it helps me to remember to shout these things out on the show, because we've got a wonderful, podcasting community and all that. And I always loved, especially, the last two, we're talking about Wildstorm and a Green Lantern-focused podcast. Obviously, our audience, there's going to be people that are going, wow, finally, the Green Lantern-focused podcast I've been looking for. So it's, it's a great opportunity to shout those things out. So I'm glad to do that. And actually, it reminds me to check it out and listen to it. So when I'm doing the show notes, I'll have their website on there and I'll add it to my iTunes. I want to listen to it.
Yeah, because one of the things we don't actively, search for podcasts anymore, because we're doing this and we're doing all this type of stuff. So when we hear about these new casts, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm definitely going to, check this one out, because, I am happy with the Green Lantern Corps, so it should be a pretty good listen to.
Yeah, especially those two books have been incredibly consistent. So, and the specials that have gone along with things like, and Blackest Night coming up. So there's a podcast that, there are events coming up very soon. It's a good time to start off a Green Lantern podcast. So congratulations to you guys on starting that. And I'm anxious to listen and see what those guys are doing. One other question he asked was about, have we ever considered doing that with a Marvel-centric podcast? We actually, when Bullpen Bulletins came out, David Price and Vince B. and Jim and I had always talked about doing a crossover. The honest reality is, you talk about doing crossovers and you make plans to do them, and sometimes just because of schedules and everything else you got going on, we're doing a weekly show, and trying to do a crossover with another podcast isn't always as easy as it sounds. Especially with the kind of, I think what the problem is? Since you and I went to these insanely long shows, it's been harder and harder to make time for other podcasts to do crossovers. So it hasn't been a lack of desire to do it. I like doing it. It's just been a matter of, I think you and I were so busy during the week doing this.
Yeah, and it's hard to sometimes do that and sit down and talk, and it's finding the time when, especially just the two of us coming up with the time when we can both meet is one thing, but finding a time when four people can sit down and meet, and it's
so the short answer is yes, we would love to do it. Hopefully we will do it, because I love the idea. I think it'd be great. I did David Price's Marvel Noise a while back just to do we talked about the X-Men crossover that was going on at the time, and I had a blast because it was nice. I'm a big fan of the X-Men. I still am. So it was nice to be able to, chit-chat about them and really delve into how that series played out. I would love to do some of the crossovers. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. Right now, at the moment, it's one of the nice things about the listener contest. Hopefully somebody will pick, JLA Avengers or something like that. We can delve into it. But I'd love to do it, with DC, with Marvel Noise or, one of the other podcasts out there if somebody wants to cross over and do it.
It's funny you said the short answer. Like we can give a short answer.
Well, it's a short answer for us.
Hey, Bullets here. My name is Jason. I'm calling in from Texas. I wanted to say, first of all, y'all are probably the only podcast I really listen to anymore. Y'all have a good positive attitude and always talk about what's good instead of ragging on stuff. I want to say right now, I am such in love with Ambush Bug at the moment, and I am also extremely excited that there's a showcase collection of Ambush Bug coming out in March or May, or sometime next year, which should be pretty cool, the nice telephone collection. But I just wanted to let y'all know that y'all are doing a good job. Also, one of the coolest things about Ambush Bug, aside from Keith Giffen and Robert Fleming, and their comedic genius and timing, is that by the time you're finished with an Ambush Bug issue, there's 3 more DC comics that you want to read. It reminds you of, say, a Crisis, and you want to go pick that trade up off your bookshelf, and it reminds you of an old Superman storyline or something. So that's what Ambush Bug just kind of makes you love the DCU again. So hooray for Raging Bullets, hooray for Ambush Bug. Y'all can find me. I'm a musician, kind of pseudo rapper, comic book infatuated. I make music. You can find me at myspace.com/Sir Boltagon. I hope by the time that y'all get there, I have pictures up. I'm kind of slow to that, but there's songs up for sure. Y'all take care. Bye.
Actually, thanks for mentioning Ambush Bug, because that's a series that I've been really enjoying. Particularly the issue, there was that one issue where he was having a whole lot of fun at the expense of Dan DiDio.
Yeah.
He really did a great and Dan DiDio actually mentioned it in the DC Nation. It was either the DC Nation or the 20 Questions with Dan DiDio, I'm not sure. But he was having a whole lot of fun with Dan DiDio and the deaths of his characters and things like that. My favorite character still remains Argyle.
Yes, you still dig Argyle, and I don't know, I like seeing Jan Jones in there as well.
Yes.
There's just, I like they poke fun at themselves. They poke fun at the little goofy, odd stuff that can happen in the comic book and happen in the comic book universe. But also, it's, I don't think anybody other than Keith Giffen could have pulled that off, really.
And Robert Lauren Fleming. The two of them together seem to just really, they make fun of each other. They make fun of, it's just really, it just seems to be fun. The one thing I really like about it is it's clearly written to the fans. And it's clearly written with the intention that we know a whole bunch of information, and he's playing off of that and having a good time with it, and he's not afraid to be irreverent, and I eat that up. It's classic, it's funny. The showcase I picked, I have the issues, but I still picked up the showcase.
Oh, man.
Did you buy the showcase?
I did not buy the showcase.
Because I think you bought the issue.
I have the issue. I found the Ambush Bug and then the Son of Ambush Bug. And, of course, I have this current Ambush Bug.
Well, my sickness is I'm buying all the showcases. So I was like, well, I have the issues. Do I really need the showcase? And I'm like, but I have all the other showcases, and why wouldn't I want the Ambush Bug showcase? So
you can have the full, complete set.
Yes, which is really silly. But and I admit my ultimate silliness at it. But I still needed. It's the collector in me. Well, I'm like, well, I have every other showcase. How can I not have that showcase? Because it's an Ambush Bug showcase, and it's so cool. And then I'm doing my part to support Ambush Bug.
And you comment on the fact that I won't mix floppies and the trades. At least I'm not.
I said I understand the sickness. Yeah. I didn't say that I didn't understand what you were doing. That's funny.
Hey, Sean and Jim, it's Donnie Salvo. I was just listening to your latest episode, and I think I might have a theory about those things that you saw at the trophy room. Back in the Silver Age of JLA, I believe it might even have been issue 1, where Despero challenged Martian Manhunter to a chess game, and all the chess pieces were figures of the actual Justice League, and I think that's what you might be seeing. I'm going to go and check. I'm at work right now, so I can't really check it out, but I'm going to do some research. If I'm wrong, I'll leave another message, because Lord knows I'm not shy about that. Yeah, I think those are actually, so that is a trophy from, I think it might even be their second adventure together. I know it was a very early issue of the Justice League. So, there you go. I think those are actually chess pieces from Despero, back when he was skinny and had a big fin head. Not all steroided out, looks like Batista from the WWE. All right, guys, wrestling references. That's great. All right, take it easy. Have a good night. Take care. Sayonara. See you later. I said that one already. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, some of our listeners had mentioned on the forum, too, that that was from Green Arrow's early adventures, maybe one of his first adventures, that particular hourglass. The only thing that throws me off about that is the Martian Manhunter inside there is dressed like the revamp of the Martian Manhunter, which throws me off. So I don't know. But I am convinced now, too, that it's just remember how we said at the end of it that, watch, the whole thing's probably just a trophy? I'm convinced now that, watch, the whole thing is just a trophy.
Yeah, it's just some piece from the thing.
And we had this long, in-depth conversation about a trophy piece. Still fun. Jim, we have more voicemails. We're going to put them on our Raging Oscars episode, which is going to be next week. So we'll put them on there because you and I at this point are spent, and we want to give the voicemails their just due. So we have some more of them for next week. So thank you for everyone. Please keep calling in. We're going to keep airing every voicemail we get. You call in, we'll get you on the show. Because I like those segments where you guys start talking about things like Ambush Bugs, a great example of the book, and some of the other podcasts we could shout out. I also want to shout out one more podcast. The Book Cave podcast. It's a new podcast. It's thebookcave.libsyn.com. It's by our friend Rick Croxton. So if you haven't had a chance, please check out the Book Cave podcast. The Book Cave is a podcast about books, comics, pulps, movie serials, and old TV shows. He's had episodes on fan fiction, episodes on the Golden Age. He's had a podcast on Doc Savage, which I'm actually interested in hearing about. So I do like some of Germany's pulp heroes. So it's interesting because he's going to be delving into some of the areas of comics that don't get a whole lot of attention, I think, in podcasting, which is great. Our friend at the Book Cave is Rick Croxton, has been a big supporter of our show. So please support Rick by checking out his podcast. I love Rick, so definitely want to help him out. I want to remind everyone we're going to be in the New York Comic Con, February 6th to the 8th, 2009. Please visit RagingBullets.com. We have a handy-dandy link on top of the page. Let them know that you checked them out on our website, which would be really helpful. I want to remind everyone about the Hero Initiative, which we have a handy-dandy link on our website. Visit www.heroinitiative.org or call 310-909-7809 to support them. It's a great chance to help yesterday's creators who need financial help and support today. I want to thank the listeners for supporting the Hero Initiative. Just the cost of a comic book, I think, is really just a great way to help out, especially this time of year. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Asriel, Death's Dark Knight, number 1 of 3. Limit 2 at 75% off, regularly $2.99, 75% off, only 74 cents. Kind of a no-brainer. Batman, Battle for the Cowl, 1 of 3. I have a special discount, written by Tony Daniel. Art by Tony Daniel and Samuel Floria. Covers by Tony Daniel. Batman R.I.P. and Final Crisis saw the end of Batman. Now, months following the disappearance of her protector, Gotham City sits at the precipice, and it may be too far gone for Nightwing, Robin, Commissioner Gordon, and the rest of the city's heroes to save the day. Amid the fires, rioting, looting, and gang wars, one question rings out from the souls of Gotham's desperate citizens. Where is Batman? With guest stars galore, the destruction of the sacred Gotham City institution, and an ending that will have everyone talking, this 3-issue miniseries event, written and drawn by Tony Daniel, features the battle to take on the mantle of the Bat. Who has earned the right? Who thinks they deserve it? Robin, Nightwing, Jason Todd, Two-Face, Catwoman, Batgirl? Who will ultimately win the battle for the cowl? Regularly $3.99, 50% off, only $1.99. Remind everyone about our in-stock trades. Book of the month, Flash Rogues, written by Jeff Johns, art by Scott Collins and Brian Boland. This features Captain Cold, the Mirror Master, Throwing the Plunderer, Gorilla God, and the Pied Piper on this one. Regularly $14.99, 47% off, only $7.94. Absolute Batman The Long Halloween. The Absolute Edition is $75, 37% off, only $47.25. The Trade is $19.95, 37% off, only $12.57. Jim, next week, the Raging Oscars.
Okay. It needs some type of show theme, Come on.
Really? That's our show theme for it, huh?
I don't know. It was more like Entertainment Tonight, but I couldn't come up with what the actual Oscar theme is. So.
Really? Yeah. So that's good. I like that. All right. That's next week. So we have to finish. We have to finish our stuff for next week. Episode 148, Raging Oscars.
Dun, da, da.
I'm excited for this one.
And if any of the listeners want to get involved on this, feel free to, as we do with our top bullets, send it to senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com.
What's that address again?
Senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com.
One more time for the people in the back row.
twice is enough. No, but seriously, send whatever you want to, if you want to contribute, just if you have like a moment you want to talk about. I've gotten a couple already where people send in their moments of the year for me. Some, say, hey, this is a comic film of the year for me. So, if you guys want to be involved in it, send it on in. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, because that's the whole point of this. It's a celebration of what we thought was great. And this is a tough year. And
it's a tough year in a good way because there's so much cool stuff to talk about. How do you pick your top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's which is what I'm most excited about. So that's senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.
Bye.